All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Group Up Podcast. We are here for the great Season 13 debate. I just realized that the streams doesn't say that yet, but it will in a second. And we're here for a special European edition, as I brought the three European Chads along. Three very
Did you do this intentionally?
No, it wasn't a deliberate until I realized that I've just like recruited all the giant European men and Bogur, that too. So
I'm wide. They're tall.
People wide. The impact you have on the podcast is unmatched though. So
I'm an IKEA chair built.
Exactly. So let me introduce my guests, and then we'll get right into the topics and everything we're going to discuss. So in the top left, coming through as another fellow podcaster, is my man Reinforce. Reinforce, what's up?
Good to be back on. It's been a few years. Last time I was on here for like 2-3 years ago, I was like, oh, we're going to get an Overwatch Netflix show. And it didn't happen. So, I don't know. I make no promises about what I say today. So don't listen to me.
If I remember correctly, last time you were like, Overwatch should make a movie like Cats. Well, I feel like that's stuck in my head somehow.
No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't say we should make an Overwatch live action thing. No.
I think that's something you said, but maybe I'm misquoting you. It's just stuck in my brain because it was so out there. Speaking of someone who likes to say
there's a few clips going around.
There's a few clips. Speaking of someone who likes to say out there things, crunching his hands right now in the bottom left is Bogur. Bogur, what's up?
Yo, what's up? It's me, Bogur.
It's your boy Bogur. What's with the stash? I like it. What's the inspiration?
What stash? Mustache?
Yeah. What other kind of stash?
I was like, did you find my stash? You know, like the stash of my.
Oh, your like
loot.
Your little loot box.
Loot stash. No, I know. I was lazy shaving it off, and then people told me it looked good, and then I just kept it on. I kind of a little bit shaved it off, but I'm still there as a stash. So build up, more build up.
The development is getting there.
Yes, we're developing it.
Well, it's appropriate for the podcast because people often joke that like the podcast is the glasses and the facial hair podcast with Sam and Frito and Flats as well. So you're halfway there. You just need to poke out your eyes a little bit, get some glasses, and you're good to go. All right, and now for his debut appearance on the podcast, in the bottom right is Kran. Kran, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well.
Do you want to quickly introduce yourself to anyone who might be familiar with you for your first appearance?
Sure. Well, I'm kraandop. I'm Dutch. And like Bogur, I cannot in fact grow a mustache. So, as you can see, not a whole lot of hair going on.
Listen, I have a little bit more facial hair than him.
Yeah, just a little bit. But I'm a tank player, and I've been doing YouTube streaming for a little bit now. Most flexible tank player, not an OSOTP. That's the only thing I really want to make sure that everybody knows. Not an OSOTP.
Of course, none of us are Orisa opponents here.
No.
I don't even play tank.
I don't even know what an Orisa is, to be honest.
Honestly, if I had a reputation as Orisa OTP, I would consider that the highest form of slander. So I would do everything to clear my name.
That's what I mean. It's not even my most played, so I just want to make sure that people know.
That's true. I can totally respect that. All right, well, Kran, welcome to the podcast, and we're going to be taking you on the wild ride as we throw out hot takes, live action Overwatch and whatnot, as Reinforce may get into or may not get into. We'll find out. But let's, as we always do on this podcast, let's start with the general thoughts of my guests on how they're feeling about Overwatch right now. So, Bogur, why don't you show Kran how it's done? Give us a little bit of an introduction. What are your overall general thoughts on Overwatch right now?
So, Overwatch, it's a game. Orisa meta, once again, for the 50th time. I'm sure Kran is very happy about that.
I'm content with it.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. And Juno Brig is a support composition, definitely. It makes things a little bit unkillable. But I'm playing Junkrat, so I'm just kind of chilling, shooting stuff. But if I was playing tank, I think I would be really upset. But I'm not. I have no enemies. I'm like the Vinland Saga arc. Exactly. I have no enemies. I have escaped past my hatred for the game, and I'm just chilling, doing stupid stuff.
See, so not only are we fully European, we're only going to make European references from now
also
on.
Widowmaker. Oh my god, Widowmaker is so annoying. It's crazy.
Yeah, I actually do agree.
Oh my god, especially now that I don't play tank. Me playing Junkrat, it's so frustrating because I just stare at her across the map and there's no way I can get to her, especially if they play Dio or something. It's just like a lobby admin. It's crazy.
Well,
I really feel like nobody enjoys playing against Widowmaker in general. Even as a tank, it's just your team dying anyway. Like it just doesn't matter what you do.
So how would you sum up then, Kran? So you've already picked up on what Bogur said about Widowmaker being oppressive. How would you summarize your just overall feelings about the game right now?
I feel like it's just very difficult to like have fun right now. Like it's the game you can play, you can get away with certain tanks. I feel like there's a lot of tanks you can kind of get away with. Like Winston is still playable. Zarya you can pick into Orisa and stuff. But I feel like any tank or any hero you really play, you're not really gonna feel that individual value just because it's so hard to shoot the Juno who's like going a million miles an hour, like going crazy movement, the Brig with a shield. It just feels kind of goat in a way. So yeah, it feels a bit still.
I mean, that's often the complaint we hear from the veterans. But Reinforce, do you feel that that's true? Are we almost back in a pseudo goats meta, or is Widowmaker the lobby admin?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's be clear. This is the most I've played the game, I think, in like forever. Like, I really enjoy it. Like, I'm grinding the game right now. But that said, I'm pretty tired of the whole Orisa, Brig, Juno thing that's going on. And it's been like a full season as well since Juno release. You know, people quickly found out that Brig was really strong with Juno. And it's a backline that you can't like punish. You can't separate him. It's not that great of a backline. And so it just makes it really hard to like, well, I guess I'll just play a brawl tank. I guess I'll just play Orisa, and that's kind of like the best matchup. Like you can't really play. People have been saying that Diva's strong, and sure, Diva's pretty strong, but like there's not that many scenarios where like you can go Diva and actually dive the backline. I feel as much anymore. So I really been enjoying the game, but I am getting pretty tired of the Orisa Juno Brig thing.
Yeah, it seems to be the standard merry-go-round is that we kind of find something that's obnoxious, it sticks around a bit too long, we all get kind of tired, and we're like, okay guys, can we get the new thing now? Kran, maybe you could help me out here and explain to me, as someone who's not playing the game much and is kind of out of touch with the meta, why is Juno, Brig, Orisa the meta right now?
I feel like it's because the survivability is just insane, right? So even though like in these usual compositions of like a Brig, or back in the day when we had like an Ana, it was pretty doable to put pressure on the backline and have them zone out in a place so you could actually play dive. But with a Brig and a Juno, they're not gonna die. They're gonna be able to speed away very quickly. They get to keep each other up, so you can't really, you can't punish anything. So if you then also pair it up with like an Orisa, since the supporters can very much easily peel for each other, you're just going to have a composition that doesn't die. And what are you going to do as a dive tank, for example? It's just that's why. It's just the survivability of it.
It's the survivability of it. They may have heard us, actually, because it turns out they just dropped a patch, apparently. And
really?
that patch includes some nerfs. Bogur, before I start discussing that patch, again, do you kind of agree with everything that Kran laid out there for why things are obnoxious?
Because the backline just survives and Orisa just lives forever, and they can support her easily, and then nothing dies. And it's annoying.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, we've seen this over and over again.
We've seen it so many times. It's kind of
the amount of micro buffs Orisa gets every single patch is actually crazy. Like it's never one patch that makes her good. It's just they keep adding a little bit extra onto the Orisa till they nerf another tank, and then all of a sudden, boom, Orisa is broken.
Yeah, they just keep micro buffing, and they're like, "What? Orisa is meta again? How is that possible? I can't believe it. That's crazy."
Shocked Pikachu face every time they buff Orisa, and then she turns out to be meta. Okay, well, let's actually see what they've done, because you guys have done a really good job of laying out the problems with the current state, and then let's look at what they've now done to change this and see if that might actually do anything. So I'm just going to pull up the patch notes now, and we'll go through bit by bit. There's actually a lengthy section on the patch notes for changes to Junkenstein's lab, which we will talk about in a minute. We'll talk about Junkenstein lab. For those who are wondering what the rest of the podcast is going to be, we'll talk about Junkenstein's lab, and we'll talk about the proposed 5v5, 6v6 changes. But first thing on the patch notes are Orisa changes. So base health of Orisa increased from 125 to 175, but her armor reduced from 350 to 300, so basically shifting the armor health around. Energy Javelin damage reduced from 80 to 70, and Fortify no longer reduces fusion driver heat generation. I'll take it to Reinforce first. Reinforce, is this the Orisa nerf that we needed?
Sure. I mean, Orisa's too survivable. I feel like that's one thing. I feel like the other thing, and I feel like maybe supporters can agree with this, is like the fact that you can just run down people with Orisa. It's still kind of broken. Like, I'm pretty amazed that, like, I get what Orisa's trying to do. You know, you're protecting your team. You know, it's hard to like run past an Orisa. You can like holding the fort down. But the amount of impact you can have in killing damage players and killing support players, I find that that's kind of like the part of Orisa that's broken. So yeah, you can nerf the survivability of Orisa. Like was mentioned earlier, you can still pick a few counters into Orisa. Like you can pick a Zarya, for example, and get relative value. It doesn't work as well in the pro scene because you can work around the Zarya's bubble, you know, if you have enough teamwork and stuff like that. But I feel like the damage problem is what I mostly have a problem with Orisa. It's just like you can be this very tanky, stalwart tank, but you can also just like kill damage and run down support players quite easily. So, you know, I was pretty negative about the slowdown during Fortify, that you get your movement speed reduced, but I kind of understand where the devs come from. And I guess maybe that no longer reduces fusion driver heat generation. Change is like, yeah, that could kind of be a good step in the right direction, but I'm not necessarily on board that Orisa's survivability is the only problem with her. What makes her Orisa like a great tank in general? Like, she's just very well rounded. Maybe she should just be more defensively oriented, I feel like.
I actually have a take as well. I feel like, as Reinforce said, like the kill potential that Orisa has is pretty high. And I think a change that I never really understood why they did is they removed Orisa's fall of damage, which I feel like is honestly a really big deal. Because a lot of the time I feel like what I personally go for as a play is trying to hit a spear on someone on the backline. And because they like go in a straight line, it's you don't really need to aim, and you kind of are able to one-tap someone across the map. So that is something I feel like they should definitely change. I think that's a really big part of it.
So you kind of agree with Reinforce that it's not just the survivability, it's like the kill potential that it makes Orisa so, well, obnoxious.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like if she needs to have like a trade-off, right? Because I feel like Orisa should be the tank that is hard to kill, but then she shouldn't also be able to kill everybody.
That's entirely reasonable. Bogur, does this change around for you what makes Orisa so good?
I mean, it's a nerf for sure. I don't know if it's going to change much, TBH. But I agree with Kran. It's really annoying, especially now that I play a little bit squishier characters. Just getting one tap from by Orisa across the map is so annoying. Because first you can't kill Orisa, but she can also one-shot you. So what is this? You know, I've always been a big fan of like characters having weaknesses and strengths, and it just seems like Orisa has no weaknesses and all strengths. And either that character is absolutely horrible, or they're absolutely OP, and the cycle just repeats itself. Micro buffs. The character's OP. Everyone's like, this sucks. Then they nerf her. Then she's garbage. Micro buffs. Oh my god, this character's OP. And it's like, it repeats itself. So, I know. Maybe it will be enough. Maybe not. I just hate the character. I've always hated the character. Old Orisa, new Orisa, just Orisa.
So you're, again, I think on the podcast a few times we've kind of had this, people suggest that it's time to put her on the farm for a bit, rework her and come back.
Break her kneecap, shoot her 26 times. Stab her 42 times and leave her in a ditch.
I think you're being too harsh, man. Like,
Nah,
I don't have like a big problem with Orisa. Like, I much prefer Overwatch 2 Orisa than Overwatch 1 Orisa.
I'm sure Kran doesn't have a problem. Kran, you don't have to say anything.
No, I'm not the one to talk. But I feel like characters like Orisa, you know, there's stuff to do it still. I feel like personally, I would way rather not have a Ramatra meta than an Orisa meta. I think Orisa, sure, she needs some nerf. I agree. But I think Ramatra is, you know, gameplay-wise, I don't know. Maybe that's just
how about fuck Ramatra, fuck Orisa, fuck Roadhog, fuck Mauga, leave everything else in.
Do you even want to? Yeah, no, you don't play tank. You just
I play tank. I want
to say Zarya, Winston out, Orisa out, Ram out, Mauga out.
Yes.
Every game is just Reinhardt. Everyone just instantly locked on Reinhardt.
Make it Quake deathmatch.
Reinforce, you're not so harsh on all of this, and you don't think there's like such a holistic problem with Orisa.
Well, I mean, like I said, I just think I agree with kraandop. I think the fall off thing is just absurd. That you can just like shoot, like if you have a flanker going for like the enemy backline, that you can just provide supplementary fire, then you try to get kills or assists on the enemy backline, and then your javelins as well. Like, I would rather see them implement some kind of fall off damage to Orisa. And if you have to make make up for that loss of your lethality by buffing her spear spin or something that doesn't deal as much damage, but helps your Orisa protect the team more. Like, I think that makes sense. I think that the heat generation thing might be a pretty big deal. It's like 50% less fusion, driver, heat, reload thing, whatever trick you want to call it. But that might actually be a decently sized nerf to Orisa. But yeah, I mean, the point stands. I think Orisa is kind of fun to play, to be honest with you. Like, I like the javelin, I like the spear spin. I think the ultimate is actually quite fun when you get like a big ultimate going. Yeah, Look, we might say that we're not the Orisa mains, but my most played hero of the season is Orisa. Reinhardt is close behind second, but Orisa is my most played character. I don't mind playing it. Okay, I was about to say something very controversial. I won't say it, but
go ahead. You've already climbed the bridge. Just jump off now. Come on.
From honorable Reinhardt player to a filthy Orisa abuser.
I would say the mild version of the controversial thing is I don't like playing Ramatra that much. So
then don't play Ramatra.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Ramatra, you hold right click. That's it. That's the gameplay. You hold right click, then maybe a mouse one every now and again. That's a gameplay.
What is Orisa gameplay?
You spear someone across the map.
The javelin, the ultimate. Okay, if you want to compare the Orisa ultimate to the Ramatra ultimate, it's like, oh, I do AoE damage. Run away from me. It's like, I much prefer the Orisa ultimate. It's like a big boom, you know? Like, I like big explosions.
This feels like the definition of a mid-off right now. Like, what we're arguing about.
It's like, why? I just hate both characters. I don't like Ram nor Orisa. Fuck them both.
All right, fair.
True. Okay, well, speaking of, since
this is
we're on that
Overwatch in 2024. You have to opt in. You have to pick your poison.
I don't refuse to play. I refuse to play.
Or just do what everyone else does. Stop playing tank, I guess. But Kran, you said you hate Ramatra more, so the Ramatra changes, but Pummel reverted to pierce barriers again and no longer deals critical damage. So they changed the buff thing. How do you feel about this?
Okay, so you can shoot through barriers again, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I feel like Ramatra was worse with like not being able to shoot. So that to me it feels like a buff. I might be tripping on that. I'm not sure. I haven't tried Ramatra because I don't like the character, but I don't really like it. I prefer like Reinhardt being better than Ramatra in like the mirror or like in the matchup than the other way around. I feel like it's better for the game.
Yeah, it feels like the jury was out on whether the punching through the shield was better or worse. I guess it's just situational. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. Reinforce, how did you feel about it? Did you feel like it was better or worse? And how do you feel about this change going back?
Honestly, like, it was in the game for like a week or two. Like probably 2 weeks. I haven't played Ramatra because I don't like playing Ramatra. I haven't played against any Ramatras because no one plays Ramatra. Everyone just plays Orisa. So honestly, I don't have a good sample size of like what the change actually did. I think the few times I did play Ramatra and I was playing Reinhardt, I was like, okay, fair enough. I don't take health damage. They don't punch me through the barrier. But it was pretty upsetting when they would destroy my shield in like 4 seconds. And I'd be like, all right, well, I guess I'm doing LH Cloudy challenge, playing Reinhardt, no shield. That's Ramatra matchup these days. So I don't know why they reverted it. I don't know if there's a developer comment or anything. But honestly, I don't know if it was good or bad for Ramatra. I feel like the community really came out and was like, oh, they super nerfed Ramatra. And I was like, I don't know. Like, it was pretty good against like Winston Bubbles or like Reinhardt or other shields in the game, right? So I don't know if it was like a consistency, quality of life change or whatever, but I'm pretty indifferent, I think.
Bogur, someone who doesn't play tank, but maybe you're periodically observing people playing tank as you're sitting somewhere on Junkrat, hiding behind a corner or something.
I never hide.
You never hide.
I'm always in max depth.
How are you ever going GM then?
I'm Master
on Junk.
Listen,
you Masters, okay.
Master Street Junkrat Goth. I didn't even observe like any difference because it was in for a week, like or two. It was like, okay, they had an idea, they put it in, observed it for 2 weeks, and they instantly like.
So why do you think they changed back so fast? Then what do you think they saw?
I think they just
Twitter.
just Twitter, yeah, just Twitter. I don't know. Like, it's. I don't disagree with the idea of reverting it, but they didn't even give it a chance, so I have no idea. and I don't know. I didn't feel anything. Nothing's changed. Basically, we're back to where Ramatra was beforehand. So I don't know. Maybe it would have been a cool idea, but how should I know? We didn't get the chance to play around.
I could see maybe if they were like shield breaker doesn't really fit what Ramatra is about. Like Ramatra, it feels like you're hunting people down, and if you get close to Ramatra, like he's gonna kill you pretty quickly with the punches. But like, how does shield breaking fit into that kind of like hero design, right? Like if you want a hero that is good at shield breaking, you're probably better off just making a new hero with that kind of kit that suits that character better. Like Ramatra, if you're supposed to be this you get movement speed, you pummel people down, like it makes more sense that they actually deal damage through barriers and like kill Brigitte pretty quickly and stuff like that. So maybe it was just like it didn't really fit in with the rest of Ramatra's kit.
Maybe the new tank is something related to the shield breaking, and they just didn't want to overlap.
Listen, if the next tank is another tank that just moves forward and has no verticality, I will have a mental breakdown.
Same. I've been saying the same thing.
Like, it's crazy.
I will fucking
come in. Mauga, Ramatra, Queen. It's just all tanks just sitting on one plane of existence, no verticality.
I don't know why they. I guess it's because it's hard to design, but it's just boring.
Yeah,
well, we'll get, there's something we'll get to actually. Go ahead, Bogur. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say it's cool. I do agree that it's cool that Ramatra can pierce shields. I think it's a cool mechanic, and when they first introduced that he can't pierce, it was kind of weird. But maybe they're geniuses. I don't know. It doesn't matter anymore because they're gone.
They did it anyway.
Yeah, so who knows? It's gone. Who knows?
Well, we'll find out. We'll discuss at least vague thoughts on the new tank as well. This Phreaks leaks. That we've got in the little teasers. We'll discuss that in a minute, especially for the 3 potential tank mains. No longer all 3 are tank mains, but spiritually tank mains. We'll see what they have to say about it. Moving on to Wrecking Ball. So quad cannons' ammo count is increased from 80 to 100, and the grappling claw duration increased from 6 to 8. What do we think about these changes? Bogur with the pog phase. Bogur, you think it's good?
I think grappling claw duration is cool. And ammo is cool. I don't think it's gonna break the character or anything, but I think it's nice quality of life. I don't know. I don't see Ball that often, to be honest. I know about pro play, but I don't see him. Except the Ball one tricks, I don't see Ball.
That's what I'm confused about. Like it's a nerf, to be honest. So
why?
The character, why? Because you can't roll as much. That's the entire point of the character. You roll around, but then now you can do this.
Why can't he?
But the duration is just longer. I don't think it changes.
Oh, the duration. I thought you meant the duration of the cooldown.
So no, sorry. So the duration of how long you can hold the grapple.
Okay, that's good. Okay, yeah.
Where's not paying attention?
No. My bad.
That's okay.
All right, no, then it's bad. Then I like it actually. I do.
Yeah, you would say it's kind of just. How much would you say it moves the needle for Wrecking Ball potentially? We can't really know for sure, but
about the length of a human hair or the width of a human hair, I'd say.
Okay,
but
so you don't think it would change? Like it's not going to make suddenly Ball meta?
No way. You can at the end of the day you're just outmatched with like an Oris and a Brig. You get flailed once, and then you get speared, then you get spinned, then you get flailed again, and then the Juno's in space, and then what can you do?
Nothing, except your fate.
Yeah.
Reinforce. What about maybe at the pro level? Is this going to maybe encourage some ballers?
No, it's just too easy to counter Ball. It's some nice quality of life changes. I feel like increasing the ammo is a pretty nice change because most of the time when I play Wrecking Ball, which is like 15 minutes a season, I feel like, I run out of ammo pretty quickly before I'm able to get a kill. I feel like the biggest pain point for me when I play Wrecking Ball is that when I'm in like the ball form, in the roll form or whatever we call it, like the time to reload your magazine like in roll form, I think they could shorten that. I don't know how long it is now before you reload while in the ball form, but I think if they reduce that time, so more of the time, like I'd go knock someone around, I'd have my ammo reloaded faster. I feel like that would be a pretty nice quality of life change. But I feel like Wrecking Ball just inherently gets pretty countered by a lot of players in the game. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe with the Sombra rework, Ball has a slightly easier time, but I don't know if it's going to change anything.
Well, let's maybe talk about that then, because that is the next item on the patch note card, which is Sombra for another time. Another set. It feels like every you blink and there's another Sombra change coming. But we've got now Hack now exit stealth when hacking an enemy target. Translocator delay before entering stealth reduced from 0.5 to 0.33, and the fade in time reduced from 0.3 to 0.15, and EMP ultimate cost reduced by 10%. I'll take it to Bogur. Bogur, I think maybe you were the most recent, having grinded Sombra for a while, although even that was a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about these changes?
Sombra? I don't know. I know why they keep changing her every season. Like, they change her, and then everyone's like, okay, we got used to it. Okay, let's rework her again. It's like, okay, just leave her alone. I know, it's kind of annoying at this point. But I think it's cool buffs. I don't think it changes anything about, like, why people are frustrated with the original changes. It just kind of buffs it. But I don't know. It's just, they make an identity for Sombra, then they remove the identity, and then they remake it again. Of course, we're gonna be frustrated. Imagine Reinhardt every season loses his shield and gets 2 hammers, and gets 0 hammers, has 2 shields, then can fucking get 2 pins. I don't know. Just let her simmer a bit. Like, leave her alone. Just keep her somehow. Just stop changing her. That's it. I think that would be good.
I feel like it's.
Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I feel like it's even another nerf. I feel like.
Why is it a nerf?
Because you can when you hack, you instantly get removed from stealth, and it's already so short.
Oh yeah, that is true. So they also nerfed. I don't know.
It's just another nerf to the character.
Somebody has a vendetta against Sombra players. I'm gonna say they hate the Sombra players. They just hate them.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, actually, just and this is a question open to all you. I'll direct it to Reinforce for now, but all of you, I want your thoughts on this, which is that I've seen a lot of Twitter discussion and social media discussion on, like, is new Sombra terrible? Is she bad? Is she better? It's like, is Sombra 76 better, or is it actually she's a necessary evil to counter Widowmaker? Old Sombra was better. People are now coming around to the idea that, like, actually the original, well, not original, but let's say the Overwatch 2 start Sombra with the translocator that just got set down, that was better. Where do you guys land? Like, where are we in the Sombra world? Reinforce, how about you?
Okay, so I made a video about this yesterday, and I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I think perma-stealth is like a worse evil for the game than a Widowmaker being too strong. Because I get it. Everyone's just like,
worse.
Widowmaker's way too strong. Widowmaker's ruining the game. I get it. And we need to nerf that. We need to make sure that Widowmaker doesn't take over our games. I get it. But I also think that perma-stealth was pretty bad for the average player. And so I think this is just kind of like the state we're going to be in for the next few months with Sombra. They're going to make small changes pretty much every patch. They're going to try to fit her into some kind of identity. And I think we're going to see small changes like this all the time. I think the translocator quality of life is quite nice for her. But I think we need to come up with an alternate solution for countering Widowmaker, because I don't think permanent stealth was it.
So what's your more ideal version of Sombra? Like, what does it look like? More like maybe launch Sombra?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, honestly,
get no charge from hacked health packs.
I'm over coming onto this podcast and saying weird takes, and so I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know. It's up to the hero designers to figure out like what they want Sombra to be like. I think it's a bit sad that she lost some hero identity by not being as good of a flanker anymore. I think they should maybe let Sombra be invisible for slightly longer, because now it's like 5 seconds, which is like not really that strong at all. She only has one movement mechanic, which is the translocator. So now you have to pick, do you want to like engage with translocator, or do you have to disengage? Like, you look at Reaper, like Reaper has like, he has the shadow step, but he also has the wraith walk. He wants to get out. Tracer has 3 blinks and a recall. Like, you just compare Sombra to a lot of different kind of flank heroes, and Sombra's mobility is just very weak right now. And I think that's something they need to look at and be like, hey, do we want Sombra to play like Reaper? Do we want Sombra to be like hanging around the tanks and just hack the enemy tank for opportunist passive? Or do we want Sombra to be a legitimate flanker? And so I think they need to look at the mobility part of Sombra maybe. Okay, I'm going to say wild take. Like, what if you gave her 2 translocator charges? Once you can go in, once you can get out. I'm just saying, like one translocator charge, she can't move. She can't move. She's just with the rest of the team. Like, what are we doing? So
How about you give her
Listen.
3 translocator charges and then a translocator that returns her back in time and heals her, and then
And then she can't hack anymore either.
Three
Look,
charges.
on this
Three.
on this podcast, we're not haters. We treat it like an improv class where we say, all right, we'll roll with it. Yes, and all right. So let's amuse Reinforce for a little bit. Let's give his ideas some thought. That's
I'm
one
just glad
out there.
Samito is not here to be like, Widowmaker! Wow! Like, I get it. But
Spiritually, he's yelling at his screen right now. Kran, what about you? What's your like more
Kran?
ideal version of Sombra? Yeah, Kran, and then Bogur will come to you. I also want everyone's
Wait
gonna
your
answer
turn,
this
Bogur.
question.
Wait your turn, bro.
What's your more
Fuck.
ideal version of Sombra?
I think the point that Reinforce made about the stealth being longer is a pretty good one. I feel like just her stealth being longer already gives her a bit of extra mobility in a way that you can engage and then disengage if you're a translocator. I feel like right now 5 seconds is just no time at all to be able to set up. I think if they just made the stealth a bit longer to like maybe 10 seconds and then allow someone to hack while invis, I think we're already in a better place for the character.
So you don't feel like they're too far. You're actually roughly fine with the way she operates right now.
Right now, yeah. I mean, I think just the stealth feels very, very bad at the moment because I played her recently because I was doing a challenge where I needed to win on every hero. And when I got to Sombra, every time I wanted to set anything up, I just got stuck in the front line because I couldn't go anywhere with stealth. The 5 seconds is just so little. So yeah,
can I
think,
follow
think,
up on that before Bogur goes?
Yeah, go for it.
I just feel like I would be happy if they. I agree with Kran. I would be happy if they gave her longer stealth time duration, but made the translocator cooldown like way longer. Like maybe you just get 1 or 2 stealth opportunities per team fight. But what we saw in last week's patch is that she has 5 second stealth, and I think it's a 6 second translocator cooldown. Like, I just feel like maybe increase the cooldown, but also increasing the stealth to give her an actual opportunity in a team fight to get it somewhat into the back line and try to make a play. And if you were to give her 2 charges, make it even longer, 13, 15 second cooldown. I think that's fine. But she needs longer stealth, I agree.
Well, we have at least one supporter in chat for your idea. Aramori says, "Nah, I fuck with the double translocate. Talk your shit, king." There you go. You got
bet him.
some not completely outrageous. Bogur, what is your ideal or more ideal version of Sombra?
I think Sombra's best, like why so many people liked Sombra in the first place, because you could play her really tactical with hack and be really creative with a lot of things, and that was the most fun part, like denying ultimates, canceling stuff with EMP, canceling beat with EMP, canceling tree with EMP. That was, I think it no longer works, right? So that was fun. That was cool. It was annoying for the enemies, but I think that's what made Sombra fun. And I think the more we try to make her like every other DPS, where she just sits in the front line and does damage and then sometimes hack, it just loses the identity of the character. And you might as well just make a second Tracer at that point. So I think they should focus less on just making her a frontline DPS. And I think it's okay for games to have annoying characters. Like Sombra's always been annoying, but I rarely saw her in game because first, not a lot of people could use Sombra effectively, and second of all, because it just didn't have that much carry potential except for canceling ults and stuff. So it was a fun character. It was really annoying to play against, and that's fine. Every game has annoying characters. So I don't really agree with the idea of just making this character another DPS character that just goes around, shoots stuff, and kills stuff. I do like the more strategical and more tactical gameplay of Sombra, just being an annoying character, just fucks with the enemy team. I'm sorry for swearing here. Just like ruins their strategy, and that was always cool. That was always the fun thing, and that was always fun to watch as well. If you want to watch a Sombra player, I'll be honest, it's not fun watching somebody just like shoot the enemy tank for 15 minutes straight or shoot whatever. It just loses the identity. So I don't know. The 2 translocators, maybe it's a good idea. Longer duration and stealth, I agree, that's a cool idea. But I never liked her doing more damage with. It was neither fun for hack to last 8 seconds. It's not fun either for hack to increase damage done by the MP damage. I think it also does increase your base damage. I don't remember anywhere, right? Not the MP damage, the virus damage, right? Increase virus damage. But does it increase your base damage as well when you shoot?
Yeah, 20% weapon damage.
I don't fuck with that. It's kind of annoying, I'll be honest. So yeah, I just want her to be more tactical and annoying and less just going around killing stuff. Maybe I'm cooked.
Yeah. I mean, Bogur showing a nuance to Sombra that he completely denied Orisa. He's like, fuck that annoying character. That guy could just go in the
Hey, listen, it's okay to have annoying characters as long as they're not 700 HP, most with armor, and can one-shot your custom map.
No, I don't disagree. I just have to point out for the Orisa lovers, they're going to be annoyed. But, you know, I think I also personally agree with that opinion. Just the obviously difficult thing is none of us are dedicated Sombra players, and I'm sure dedicated Sombra players also have split opinion on some of them are very happy, some of them are unhappy. If you were to ask my opinion, I also preferred the more tactical Sombra, the more setup Sombra. Every version is going to be annoying in some way or the other. Like this version is annoying to backline DPS or whatever, or like Widowmakers. The previous version was annoying to like being hacked on certain, like your ultimates it's hacked out, or if like your Zenyatta who's always suffering to Sombra, it seems anyways. But I did appreciate the more thoughtful level of Sombra as opposed to what feels a little bit more brainless. Not completely, but just a little bit more one-dimensional. As you said, Bogur, the dilemma that the devs always have is that the more unique you make a hero, the harder it becomes to balance them. But the more you homogenize a hero, the more boring the overall state becomes, where every character is an interchangeable version of the other. So
yeah.
Any more thoughts from you guys on Sombra before we move on? Anyone have anything else they want to add?
I feel like there's actually like quite a lot with like the virus and stuff, but I don't want to go too deep on it. Like I feel like the damage is so inconsistent. Her dueling is pretty bad, but you don't want to give Sombra more health. I think you could spend like an hour talking about Sombra and the stage she's in. I think Sombra's obviously like pretty bad right now, and I think it's gonna take them some months to like figure out.
And then they're gonna rework her again.
To be, yeah, well, you know, back from the beginning, hacking health packs give ult charge. Make
awesome, I agree. That'll be awesome.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was a bad era.
It was hilarious. What are you talking about? It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, guys, 1 minute left. Go Sombra, farm ult, EMP, win the fight. That was cool.
Just camp
I
Temple
remember
of Anubis.
on Temple of Anubis. Yeah, I was about to say Temple of Anubis' first point was an absolute nightmare.
And the second point, the second
point
with the
Sombras would fight for
the mega under the bridge.
Yeah, the mega to help. Yeah, that was a classic one as well.
That was a whole thing. Yeah, I mean those are. But
it's memorable. It's way more memorable than just Sombra sitting there shooting. It's annoying, but like at least it's something. They did change it eventually, but it is more memorable than just Sombra shooting stuff.
Well,
yeah,
again,
but just because something's memorable, I don't know, but you know.
Listen, I'd rather have it be memorable and annoying than forgotten. Because then, what is the point of life, right?
Well, again, it's like it's that dilemma of like, well, the more different you make it, the more chance it has to completely define a meta, which is what it did. It made an entire, at least on certain maps, it was a complete meta that you had to pick Sombra and hack those megas, which some people find annoying. But as Bogur says, at least it's something that's shaking the game up. It's something different, and yeah, it's like a thing we can all reminisce about. I'm not sure too many of us will reminisce about these last few changes to Sombra, basically. I don't think this will be something that we'll talk about 2 years ago. Remember when it was 5 seconds instead of 6 seconds?
Big changes.
Man, what a day. What a day that was. Okay. So no other DPS changes, actually. We move straight on to support, and the only support change is to Juno. Orbital Ray, healing reduced from 100 to 85 health per second. So this is her ultimate. Kran collapse. So you're happy with this change, Kran?
Finally, man. Finally. That ult, it's unplayable. You cannot play into that ult. Every time you have to kite it, otherwise you just lose a fight. It's very oppressive. And even this, I'm not sure if it's enough. I'll be honest, but you know, it's a change for the better.
Bogur?
I agree. I just think it's unkillable. Not unkillable. You can't kill anything in it, and if you push into it, you're gonna die. So it reminds me of old kill code when it was 3x everything, right? So, but it's even more annoying because people get healed in it. So I know it's a very strong ult, and it also goes forward, so people can just keep pushing with it, and it also lingers once you leave and just heals you and deals that increases your damage, so you do more damage. So you just have to leave, and it's super annoying. It helps. I don't think it helps enough, but it definitely helps with how strong the ultimate is.
Reinforce, how about you? 85 heals per second. That still sounds like a large number.
Yeah. This is exactly the change I wanted to see, though. When I thought about this ultimate, I wanted to see the healing reduced per second, because I think the biggest issue with Juno, which I think Kran hinted at, is that like when the enemy team drops the orbital ray, like you have to kite it. You can't fight in it. Like you have no choice. You just gotta get out, because you don't have any like opportunity to kill the enemy team if they're standing in the beam at all. I put 50 out there. Like maybe it's 50 healing per second. 85 still sounds pretty high. Like if I'm committed, if I'm like a Winston, or I don't know, if I want to Risa, why not? In the orbital ray, like I still want to be able to call that, like, hey, let's kill the Juno, even though they're in the orbital ray. Like they're already getting the damage increase, right? They're already getting healing per second, but they were just unkillable in the 100 healing per second. So I would like to see that reduced further from 85 to maybe like 60 then, you know? But I mean, you can also get the duration. It's 10 seconds right now. That feels like a long time for an uptime for the ultimate. So maybe reduce that to 8 seconds. But I think healing per second is the way to nerf orbital ray, because what sucks kind of in this current meta is there's so many things you have to kite. There's so many things that you need to like kite around and peel away from, and then you have to re-engage. You know, whether it's like the rally, you can kind of kill through, you can kind of like engage through the rally, but peeling away from the orbital ray, we can't kill the backline because they have rally up, all this on Orisa with, you know, Terra Surge, and like you're just running away all the time. I feel like you need more opportunity to be able to, even if it's a bad fight for you, you still feel encouraged by the fact that, like, yes, they dropped the Casino Rush, but, you know, if we have good focus target, we can trade well, get a few picks. In the current state of the meta, I just didn't feel like that was the case. So I think reducing healing per second is the way to go.
So Kran, I wanna ask you this question, which is that when Juno was released, everyone, I think, largely was like, actually really good character Overwatch. Like, you've done a good job, fun, fair, you know, pretty balanced. Obviously, we've now sat with Juno meta for a while. People are a little bit sick of it. But for all the Juno mains out there who might be like, well, my character's pretty fair and fun, why are you nerfing my character? Like, do you have any sympathy for them? Do you think that Juno overall is actually fine, and it's maybe the meta that's making her feel oppressive, or do you think she's a bit overtuned and does need to be brought back?
I definitely think it's a big part of the meta as well. I think it's just the fact that she's part of the meta where everything feels so unkillable makes it a lot worse, because before we really started figuring out the Brig together with the Juno and the Orisa together with the Juno, she didn't feel oppressive at all. Like every time I'm in a game with an Ana and a Juno or live with a Juno, whatever, I have no issue with her. It's just that the packs combined with her movement, it makes it so incredibly annoying to play against, to me.
So Bogur, is this the Samito channel? Is this then go back to Brig? Sam's screaming somewhere.
Listen,
Brig is the problem.
I don't think Juno is an unfair character. I think she is honest, like Dante would say. I think she's honest. I don't think she's unfair. I don't have trouble killing her. She doesn't one-shot me across the map. Like, she's, you know, speedy and stuff. But I think it's fine. I think it's a cool character. I just think that her ult is boring. And her in combination with other characters just make the meta boring, right? I think just an ult that just heals and damages is, like, just so annoying. Also moves, right? Like, I get that they need to make new characters with more engaging stuff, but I'm sure they can make a support character that has a interesting, engaging ultimate that doesn't just heal or increase damage or something. Or like Kirk ult, you just throw it out, it just buffs everything. Jun ult, you throw it out, you buffs everything. Larry ult is more interesting, but still, I don't know, whatever. I like Ana ult, for example. That was cool. I think Zen ult was cool. In the original ults, maybe I'm like nostalgia baiting right now, but I don't know. It's just annoying when an ultimate has 2 things at once, even 3 things. And it's kind of hard because, like Reinforce said, you can focus something inside the ult, but what makes it especially scary is that they also get damage boosted. So it's way more likely that you guys die because they're also getting healed and getting damage boosted. So I don't know. And with Brigitte just healing up stuff, like Brig doesn't do much healing, but in combination with Juno, like nothing dies. And in combination with the Orisa, that doesn't even need that much healing. It's just a mess. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry, we'll get to nostalgia baiting when we talk about 5566. So we'll have a whole section on that. But Reinforce, I saw you shaking your head when Bogur said that Juno's an honest character. You don't think she's an honest character?
I think Lucio is an honest character. I think Lucio is the honest support, you know? Like, you don't have much going on. You can boop people. You know, you got sound barrier, which if you mess it up, people are going to call Ajax and like, oh, you're stupid. Like, Juno in comparison is such a strong main support. Does so much for the team. Great healing output, you know, significant damage output as well. The ultimate is really strong. Lucio in comparison is an honest character. And I miss Lucio in my games. I miss having enemy Lucios. I miss Lucios on my team.
You be the Lucio
Lucio's
Reinforce. You play Lucio.
I don't play Lucio. I enjoy playing Lucio. I think it's an honest character. But so I'm going to give another hot take suggestion here for Juno. I think, and the Juno players are not going to like this, but I think Juno does too much. You give really strong speed, but you also have a lot of, you know, healing output, and you have a really strong ultimate. So I think they should let Lucio be like the speedy Sonic characters, like Frogger, you know, send it down, get into the enemy backline. And I think Lucio gives like 60% movement speed when you amp the speed boost or whatever. Juno gives 50% speed right now. You just throw it down, 50% speed. That's right. Just run into the backline. You're playing Orisa or whatever. Maybe they should look at the Juno speed. Maybe they should tone down the amount of speed that Juno gives. So if you want to play a faster comp, you got to play the Frogger hero. You got to play Lucio. If you want to get into the enemy backline, you got to play Lucio. But currently you get away with playing Juno in that scenario too. So I think Juno should be like the middle ground character. You give some speed, but not too much speed.
I have a counter argument here. I think 8 years of Lucio metas is enough.
Not Lucio's fault. That was the developers who didn't give an alternative.
Listen, all I'm saying is they finally gave us an alternative, and we're crying that Lucio is no longer meta. All right.
Yeah, but like, is Lucio a problem?
No, Lucio.
I like exactly.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Same with Winston.
If it ain't
another Winston character.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. In my opinion, like if it's an enjoyable thing to play with, I feel like with Lucio it's just like the skill ceiling is a lot higher than with Juno, which makes it feel so much more like fair and honest, in my opinion, than compared to Juno.
So theoretically, then
what if
maybe
Juno gets 40% speed?
Well, I was going to say,
speed?
if you tone,
speed?
It's 50% movement speed right now. Lucio is 60.
They should give Lucio 100%. They
should
make it double movement speed. They make it fair.
Well, I was going to say that it sounds like what you guys are saying is like we appreciate what Lucio brings to the game, which is the speed that allows you to like engage and disengage together. So there must be a world where Juno can do that fairly too. Like we obviously cannot always have Lucio just being the only support being played in that slot. So there must be a world where Juno can be fair. It's just that you guys don't feel like we're in that world right now. You feel like we're like she's just overtuned, or at least reinforcing.
Let's be honest. Every new hero is overtuned always. Let's get it straight here. It's always overtuned.
Life Fever,
for sure, for sure. Like if they buff him slightly, I think it'll be the most annoying support character in the game.
Okay,
you do. I'll just finish this point, then I'll let you go, Reinforce. Which Bogur does make a good point, which is that in other games that release heroes, you know, MOBAs, for example, it's not unusual for eventually down the line, couple years down the line from the release of X hero, Y hero comes out and replaces them as the perma meta. Like Lucio, let's say it was the perma meta, and then maybe in Overwatch 2, we've kind of had Kiriko be near perma meta as well. Like she's been really strong. Maybe Juno will replace Lucio, and Lucio becomes a little bit outdated. Is that maybe the inevitable cycle of a game like this? Reinforce?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the answer. All right. So I wanted to ask you, SUV.
Mm-hmm.
What over the course of the Group Up podcast, what has been the consensus on looking at overbuff for relevant statistics on like pick rates and win rates?
I think we've gone up and down. I think we used to say that don't believe in it, but then the devs said it was actually fairly accurate. So I think like recently we put a bit more stock in it. Here's
all I'll say. In competitive, for the past month, Juno has the highest support pick rate and the highest support win rate. Okay. It's been over 2 months.
That's why she got nerfed.
I'm a little... Yeah, she got nerfed, and I appreciate the developers. They're not giving like the nerf hammer. They're not trying to nerf Juno to the ground. I appreciate that. I'm getting impatient over here. I'm a little impatient. Like, okay, you know, at some point, it's too much. Not even Lucio. I just want the opponents to pick some greedier heroes, which allows me to play Winston more. And that's kind of it. I feel like having the highest pick rate and win rate, that's a problem staring you in the face.
That is true. I agree. I
think
at its core, Juno is a cool character though.
Mhm.
Like it might be the numbers are overtuned, but I think it's a cool character.
I think there should be just more punishability to the game in general, which is what I feel like
agree.
it's lacking right now.
I agree.
So
First base take from Kran.
first, okay, but like the as I tried to say, like Brig and Orisa and Gino just feels like you have too many ways to not get punished, even if you don't make the right play, like individual punishment. Because your team is not always going to be there to follow up, and you should also be able to punish a mistake that one player makes with one player in a way. I feel like.
I think that's a pretty reasonable consensus to get to. You know, like stick with the principles of what made the game great and what brought people to it is like reward and punishment, skill and reward.
But I think the reason why they move away from that is because they want to make the game more casual. They want to have anyone be able to pick up a character and feel good at playing the character. Right? Getting punished for a mistake just doesn't feel good. And I think they just want to make it more casual and more accessible for people. Because back in the day, at least, nostalgia moment, I agree with Kran. Like, I super hard agree. I think when you do something, you should be punished. I think Reinhardt would go in, but, he wouldn't have mobility to go high ground, for example. So then you had Winston. But, for example, for supports, Zen ults, but now he can't, do damage or anything. Now Juno ults, does the same healing almost, and also increases damage, and also it moves around, and also she zooms around as well, and also she shoots stuff, and it's like fuck my chunk is life, right? It's super annoying, and I think it makes it more fun for people that start the game, but I think it also makes more people not play as long because just the ceiling gets reduced. It's not as fun, at least in my opinion. It's not as interactive.
So you where do you stand on it? Like you've seen this in other games, you've seen this in League and stuff. Where do you stand on it? Do you think it's good or bad?
I think it's bad. I don't think it's good. Maybe I think there's a balance for it. I think you should have characters that are easily punished, but also give you a lot of value if you pull them off, like Genji used to be. Now Genji doesn't feel like that. Because like if you look at other MOBAs, they always have a character that's really difficult to get value out, but feels really good to get value out of. And I don't think we have that many characters in Overwatch anymore. I think it's like any character you can just run it down and like get value, even if you don't have that much experience with the character. Maybe I'm cooked, but I think if you pick up any character within 20 hours, you can get the hang of it and like really like get a lot of value. But there's a lot of characters in other games where it's like you need to really dedicate a lot of time to even learn the basics, and that is really fun. And you have simple characters for people that start the game, and you have hardcore characters that is for people that actually play the game a lot and want to have that experience. You get a choice, but right now it doesn't feel like Overwatch players have much of a choice. You just pick the correct character for the correct situation and you move on with it. You can't like maybe Ball is like that, but it doesn't feel good when you just get counter swapped and like absolutely obliterated. And it would feel good if you could play Ball and get the max value of it. Some people can, of course, but again, it's very limited. It's very hard. It's very like you're bashing your head against the wall.
Yeah, I think that's go ahead, Kran.
The easier characters feel like they're like able to do just as much as like the harder to play characters.
More. They can do more.
It's so in a way, it's just you want to be able to make a character that is easy to pick up, but once you get to a certain level, you want to be able to have the harder characters to be able to outmatch them in a way.
Yeah.
Reinforce that. Is that an assessment that you agree with? Like, do you feel like that's where we're at in the game, where maybe we're prioritizing? Because one sentiment I do see often on social media and stuff is like everybody doesn't like when their character is nerfed, and we have like very strong identities now where people, if not one specific character, certainly a role. It's like, oh, I'm a support main, or you're nerfing supports, and people kind of want every support to be strong or their support to be strong. Are we leaning too far down that path, or is it actually you're fine? You think the balance is fine right now in that sense?
I think it's just a very hard challenge to solve for the devs, because there's no way that all characters are going to be balanced across all different skill ranks, and majority is in metal ranks. So like for the pro scene, for example, like Tracer was meta for like the longest time. Tracer was always a great pick, but that is kind of what we're sometimes asking for. It's just like Tracer has the highest skill expression, and when someone is able to express skill on Tracer really well, that's the best hero in the game. But if you're a bad player, if you're not good at Tracer, you're gonna suck. You're not gonna have an impact. And so I understand where people are coming from. With like Juno, it's really easy to get value from Juno without being the best support player ever. And that's something the devs will have to balance accordingly. I just don't think there's no winning, kind of. Like, I don't think there's a perfect place here. And I think it's really hard for the devs to constantly do right by how difficult is the hero versus how much value are you kind of getting. And so I think it's just like, time is a flat circle. Like, we're always going to come back to this problem. I don't think it's going to be fixed. I think the devs will just have to be responsive and do the best they can. Because I do think that, like, sure, if there's like a North Star, that should be that the highest skill expression heroes are the best if played really well. But then you have the problem in top 500 where people are like, oh, it's the same heroes being played over and over again. We want the fresh meta too, right? And so you kind of like you flip-flop on that kind of like design mentality, I suppose. So I don't think there's no winning. I think it's a push and pull kind of thing. Like, sometimes, a hero like Juno is going to be really strong and easy to get value off, but sometimes Tracer will be meta because she's the best example of like a high skill expression hero. So I think it'll come and go.
Yeah, I guess people just have to learn to pick their poison. Like, I think in any game this is a complaint in the first place. Like, pick any game, people are gonna be like, the devs don't fix this. They're making this.
Oh my god! Listen. I hate this. Yep, like this thing when people do it. It's like, what do you expect from a balanced game? What does a balanced game mean? Like, go play chess. Even that is unbalanced. You know, like even there it's unbalanced.
Nerf the queen, bro.
Nerf the queen. Like,
well, no, White. He's right. White has a statistical advantage. White wins more than Black.
It's true though. Like, in every single game, even like if it's bare bones, there is gonna be unbalanced. You can't have a perfectly balanced game. And also, it's a matter of perspective, really. Because for me, if I was still like one trading Winston every day, for me a balanced game would be a game where Malga and Roadhog is garbage. But for the Roadhog and Malga one tricks, they don't want Orisa players to. They want Malga and Roadhog buffs. So who are we balancing the game around, right? So for some people it's going to be balanced, for others it's going to be imbalanced. The game is just too varied. There's too many variables. So I think what is best to do is patches that change up the meta, that don't allow the same meta to be there for like more than 3 months, so it doesn't get stale, or even 2 months, and swap things around, like Reinforce said. Push and pull. You don't want to have the same thing over and over again, but trying to have the perfect balance is just so unreasonable.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to get at with, like, people need to learn to pick their poison. Like, you can have a game that constantly evolves or like constantly changes meta, but then you're going to have stuff like this. You're going to have new characters be busted. Some character that isn't actually that skillful is going to suddenly be popping up in the meta because you needed to shake something up, arbitrarily change it up. Or if you want like a very coherent skill to reward ratio, you're going to see the same heroes pop up all the time. You're going to be Tracer, Sojourn, Winston, Kiriko, Lucio, like all the time. Now, obviously, I think sorry, just to finish the point. I'll just say, I was going to say, last time you were here, Reinforce, we were doing the hero ban discussion, I think, and that's one way to alleviate such problems. Doesn't fix the problems, like it creates other problems, and I can hear the people saying, well, that creates a ban meta, but I won't get into that now. That was a whole 3-hour discussion that we did. But there are ways to alleviate it, but at the end of the day, you have to stop somewhere and say, I'm okay with this quote-unquote problem. I'm okay with a stale meta, as long as it's a meta that's rewards skill, or I want fresh metas, but that involves sometimes heroes I don't like becoming meta. Go ahead, Reinforce.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I think the biggest thing I think the devs should be careful is just like, how easy can you sustain the rest of your team? Like, Juno is really good at sustaining the rest of the team, whether it's with like the torpedoes, the ultimate, and I feel like those are the most frowned upon metas where the enemy team just won't die, and the only way to get value or get kills on the enemy team is via ultimates. And so for like a majority of the game, you're just waiting to build ultimates or waiting to fight around the enemy ultimates, and I think those are the most boring gameplay loops in Overwatch. And so I could see, with Juno especially, here's a pretty relatively, I think it's fair to say Juno's easy to get value from. That also keeps up her team really well. And I think that is like kind of like the worst kind of evil when it comes to Overwatch metas. If a hero provides a lot of sustain, provides a lot of healing, or sometimes even provides a lot of damage, they should usually be pretty squishy. But now Brig is helping Juno out, so you get these Brig Juno backlines and a lot of healing and hard to kill, which is usually not the best metas.
Cran, how about you? What does your vision look like? Like, what is your version of Overwatch where like this is what I would prioritize over other things?
I personally, I mean, that's maybe just a me thing. I personally really like getting deep into metas just because it gives you like all these like little counterplays. And during Ghost, for example, you started really seeing every little bit of micro gameplay, every little bit like a tiny adjustment would start winning you the fights. I personally really like that type of stuff. So for me, changing the meta isn't as important. I just like, as I mentioned earlier, being able to punish people's mistakes, to like seeing how a fight is going to play out and trying to in your head counterplay it. So more like a macro gameplay wise. So for me, metas like Brig, Ana, Winston, and then Tracer being really good are metas that I really enjoy playing, just because there's just so much nuance to it that you can get used to and really think about.
Yeah, totally fair, totally understandable. Bogur, anything else you want to add on this before we move on to talking about maybe Junkenstein's lab?
No, let's go to the real content.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly a sentiment that I've seen a lot of people say, that what has come out now, Junkenstein's lab, the latest arcade mode of this season, is something people feel like, actually, this is a version of Overwatch I prefer, and it clearly is them experimenting with a way Overwatch could be done, right? It's like, this is something people have theory crafted for a while. It's like essentially like a talent system, right? But in the case of this, it's kind of you're picking them from cards. And it seems to have gone down very well. In fact, Aaron Keller tweeted, maybe it was yesterday or today. Yesterday, he says, the event has been incredibly popular. 2 weeks after launch, 15% of our daily players are still jumping into the mode. Now, I don't think that necessarily means 50% of playtime is on it, but they're saying 15% of players are playing the mode. So I'm not exactly sure on the wording of whether that means 15% of all playtime is Junkenstein's lab, or if when you log on, 15% of people at some point play Junkenstein's lab once before they log off.
I think
either
so,
way,
yeah.
I think
either
it's
way,
the latter, but this is good numbers.
That's a lot.
Numbers. Yeah.
And so they've added a balance patch. We'll talk about the balance patch maybe very quickly on it before we do that, what are your overall thoughts on
Awesome.
Junkenstein's lab?
I'm gonna be honest. Like I haven't played it. I'll be honest.
Oh my god!
I haven't tried.
Mods break his kneecaps.
Well, I haven't played it, but it actually looks a lot of fun. I've watched some people play it on stream, and I've watched a video about it, and I honestly think it's really cool. It's a really fresh way to play the game. I'm actually kind of want to play it, but
Why don't you play it?
I just get sucked into comp. I just want to get my rating, man.
Comp grinder.
Well, just play the fucking mode. Type one in chat if Kran should play this next stream.
Do you really want me to fly around on Orisa? Because I'm pretty sure you can become a handicap.
Yes.
Shit.
Yes.
It looks sick.
Look at chat. Everyone's typing one. Literally, I have 30 people typing one.
Reinforce,
maybe.
welcome back. We're just asking you general overall thoughts on Junkenstein's lab. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I love it. I think it's the greatest thing ever. I'm grinding towards the title. I think I have like 45 games played so far. I think it's a ton of fun. I have no idea what you guys said, but I love it. It's great.
Kran has never played it.
I haven't. It's
you
bad.
didn't even load in once.
No, I just didn't. Look,
you're not making a video on it.
No,
I played Junkenstein's lab for 10 hours to prove
Exactly.
I played Junkenstein's laboratory for 100 hours
to see if it's better. Yeah, exactly. Farms of views on that. I mean, honestly, it looks really good. But I'm also top 500 just got released. I'm rank 2, so I kind of need to get rank 1. You know,
it doesn't matter, Kran. It doesn't fucking matter. Getting rank 1 doesn't fucking matter.
It matters.
It does.
It's really important.
How many times are you gonna get rank 1 before
you need to get the screenshot?
It's time. It doesn't matter. You're gonna get like every time somebody screenshots rank 1 gets like 300 likes. Nobody fucking cares about rank 1. Nobody.
Dude, imagine the YouTube thumbnail. It'd go crazy though.
Nobody cares, bro.
Well, second channel video would go hard on that.
Yeah.
Well, let's get a bit more into detail then. I mean, this is something that people have, like I said, people have kind of theory crafted about this for a while. Does this feel like the devs actually experimenting with, a very different version of Overwatch that like could be more feasible? Like, could we see this come back more consistently in like more serious ways? Like, actually experimenting with this, maybe even as a proper like as small as like a regular arcade mode, but as big as like a secondary way of playing Overwatch. Kran, go ahead.
I'm not gonna lie. I honestly would love to see them make it like a competitive game mode next to OpenQ. We have OpenQ right now.
Fuck yeah.
I would love to see another rank system, but then have it that way. I honestly
fuck with that heavily. Just as for funsies, I fuck with that. I would support it. Add more maps because I think it's only King of the Hill maps. Like yeah, right.
Yeah.
So add more maps. The updates and stuff. Do a comp thing. That would be so fun. I would grind that. Unironically grind.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would play it. I would.
Yeah. That would be funniest. That would be good. That would be really good.
Yeah, I presume the reason they've only got a King of the Hill right now because you get the power ups between the rounds, right? Like, or like after the rounds. So obviously that's like they would have to find another way.
It's smart from you.
They would have to understand another way of doing it. Of like, how do we give people the power ups? Like, would there only be like 2 power ups in the middle, or would they like find some ways of like picking up the power up somewhere?
I mean, every time, like for example, for I don't even remember the Clash, right? Every time you cap a point or somebody caps a point, you can get a power up, right? But then
it's like it's quite difficult because you're thinking, you want to think about it.
Lock in, just no thinking.
Just click the first one. Fuck that one. Yeah,
or you can pause the game for 10 seconds so everyone can. But it'll be also weird. So I don't like
deadlock system.
Deadlock system. Yeah.
I mean, I think
MOBAs. Okay, listen, it works in MOBAs. Why wouldn't it work in Overwatch? Just
Overwatch is faster paced.
Some people hate the pauses. To be fair, like I play with Fitzy off, and he fucking hates.
Well, not about the pauses, but like leveling up. It's basically like a level up system, right? This is.
That's true. I mean, there's ways to make it work. It's obviously they've implemented, I think, the way they have now because it's the easiest way to test it, right? Like between rounds. That's why they added like best of 5 as well, right? Like gives you more chance to get a power up, and it's easy to like discrete. Okay, rounds over, pick your power up, take 15-20 seconds to think about it. But I'm actually quite happy. I literally loaded up Overwatch for the first time in like a month to go and play like one game of Junkenstein's Lab because I was like, this sounds interesting. Let me see what it's all about. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. I like the picking powers thing. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. Like there's loads of ceiling to this. Like this could go anywhere and everywhere. So I'm actually glad that they're experimenting with this as a serious mode. Reinforce, where do you see it kind of headed? Like, do you think they will bring this back in some form?
Oh, totally. I mean, I think you can even tell from like the way the mode works with like the UI, like the talent picking UI, like it's clean. Like the game mode is clean. It's like furbished. So I think it's a sign that they'll bring it back. I could totally see this being a thing for like Christmas because they have Christmas skins in the game. So like maybe they'll do like Snowy King's Row or something with like the Christmas skins and new heroes. This has probably been the best arcade game mode they've ever done, right? So I fully expect them to bring it back. And I think it's also low-key a big win for all the workshop people out there, because I think this proves that we just want ways to play Overwatch in different ways, right? And I think this is a customizable, replayable experience that you can load in and play all the time. And so I think it's been a huge success. I think they'll totally bring it back. Just overall like a great game mode. The only thing I wish is so you could like re-roll talents sometimes. Like sometimes you get like a bad kind of like 4 slots of talents. If I could just re-roll one of them, that'd be great. So
yeah, maybe once a game you can re-roll your like one.
Yeah, or like one card around or something like that. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but yeah, it's great.
I mean, I've also seen people comment on this being kind of a nod to PvE as well. It's like, well, look, you gave us like a customizable talent type system. This is what people wanted out of the PvE. Now, is there any faint glimmer that this somewhere could lead to something in the PvE direction, Kran?
No,
I think the PvE, the way it was initially planned, is completely dead. I think they already have tested a little bit, right, with PvE, with the talent tree a little bit at some point.
They did that Diablo thing where there was a sort of upgrade system,
Yeah, right. So I think maybe we'll see some forms like that, but honestly, I think with the success they've been seeing with this game mode, I think they're going to be a lot happier to implement the skill tree in a PvP way. I feel like they've seen a lot more success than they have with like the Diablo thing, as mentioned so far. So I don't really see a reason for them to not try to figure out better ways to do it for PvP.
Okay, here's what I think. I don't think the success of Junkenstein's lab is a sign that like PvE will be successful. Because you know what the problem with PvE is? You're not playing against other players.
Exactly.
You're shooting robots that spawn from some weird door on some random map. Like you're shooting robots. You wanna play against other people. That's also why Overwatch is fun, because you're killing other players like fun different ways, right? Fun different abilities, fun talents. I think this is a sign that maybe you could look into doing like a battle royale kind of like game mode in the future or something like that. Meaning like a pretty weird, messed up way from traditional Overwatch, but you get to play Overwatch in an unusual way against other players. So there was this World of Warcraft game mode that came out like some months ago. It's called like Plunderstorm. And you drop into like a zone in World of Warcraft and you start from scratch, but you pick up World of Warcraft abilities like throughout the map. And so you get like a weird loadout of random class abilities. So like you get like this leap ability, but then you also have chain lightning, and then you also have like some heal or like bow and arrow. And so it's just a weird loadout, right? A weird ability loadout. I think you could do the same thing for Overwatch. It's just like, I don't know what the biggest map is in the game. Like maybe you do like a push map or something. No, you need something even bigger for Battle Royale.
Flashpoint.
Yeah, well, maybe something like that, right? Maybe you need even bigger. Make it bigger, which is, gonna be weird for consoles. But I think that kind of like weird customizable Overwatch experience is more what you should lean into, more than PvE and shooting robots. Like you get bored of shooting robots after an hour. Playing Sojourn, shooting robots is way less fun than shooting enemy players on Sojourn. And so I think this has just kind of opened the door for like what could be the weirdest way we can make PvP game modes with different ability loadouts, different talents. And I think that's kind of like what Overwatch should explore, and maybe give more, I'll say again, like maybe give more tools to the workshop people out there, because I think this is what people are after. I think they're after new, fun, customizable game modes and ways to experience Overwatch with, and endorsing those kind of modes. If the Overwatch devs endorsed map creation or, that kind of stuff, I think it'd be really good for the game overall.
So Kran suggested we'd love to see like a comp mode of this. Bogur, what is the more serious manifestation of this look like? Because obviously already they've added a balance patch, which indicates that there's going to be imbalances, and even the way the talents emerge, right? It's RNG. Like you don't know what talents you're going to get offered, and as Reinforce said, sometimes you get bad ones. So there's going to be some frustrations. There's going to be people be like annoyed about the talents. There's obviously a limited hero set right now that even have that can be playable. What does the more serious version of this look like? Let's say next season or the season after. What would you want it to look like?
They could make the talents less silly and more serious, and it would give you more agency in a game if they want to implement into the game. I know Apex has talents and stuff. I played it a bit. I always was kind of boring, but I think it works better in Overwatch. I think if they add talents like this into the system, or try it out at least, like in the version Crown was saying, you could add a lot of agency to each person to change up their strategy in game and still play their favorite hero. You don't like. But some people might say it makes it more casual or whatever. I don't care. The game is already very casual, and there is a competitive system, and the competitive scene is very competitive. But ultimately, for the average player, for the average consumer, it is really infuriating. For example, when you are a Junkrat player or whatever, and there's a Widow across the map, and you can't deal with Widow. What if you take a talent that reduces your headshot damage by whatever percent, or you can do something else. I don't know, just sit there and think about it. Or for example, you're playing tank and Reinhardt, you can buff your Rein character. Like if the enemy team is running a certain comp, you can make yourself more tanky. If they're running something else, you can make yourself a little bit speedier, like to adjust to that, so you don't always have to counter swap, and you can still play your hero. And then the enemy team also adds a layer, because the enemy team can check your talents and swap accordingly, right? So maybe in a sense, it could be a cool mechanic to give more agency to each person and still have them keep the character they play without having to swap all the time, because that is the most annoying thing about the game. The characters are really cool, they're really fun, but sometimes you're just forced to swap to less fun characters like Risa and play them to win the game, and that sucks. It sucks because it loses the fun factor of the game, which is ultimately the characters. The characters are the fun part of the game because the characters are unique. They're fun, they're enjoyable, they're wacky, they're memorable, and it's cool. That's why a Netflix show would be so cool, because people love the characters and everybody knows the characters. And if they let us play the characters, I think people would be happier.
I'm going to take it to Kran in a second, but before that, I wanted to elaborate on something Bogur brought up, which is actually something we haven't mentioned yet. Another thing that they're testing in this mode is the fact that you can't change your hero. Like, you're locked onto your hero, obviously, once you pick the hero. And I actually, I've long been a fan of exploring that idea. I obviously hate counter swapping and have done from the beginning. And I actually think the success of this mode is maybe also speaking to the success of not needing to swap in Overwatch. I know that that is a controversial part. I know that that's one that divides people. Some people love Overwatch for its swapping. They love being able to, like, he's going this, I'm going this. But I think this is like another philosophical way of approaching Overwatch, which is cool that they've tested it, is that rather than swapping your hero, you adapt your talents accordingly, right? That's the theory of it, is that you can still play. Like, if you love Mercy, you love Reaper, you love, I don't know, whoever it is that you love, Orisa, Reinhardt, rather than being like, I have to engage in this game of, like, they went Orisa, I'll go Zarya, then they'll go this, I'll go this. You can just adapt your character as you go. You're like, I continue to play the character I like, but all right, now they've got this, all right, I'm going to pick the talent that lets me, counter the Reinhardt, and then he's going to pick a different talent, and I'm going to have to adapt. So I think it's another way of looking at the game as well, and I look forward to them experimenting more with the world of Overwatch where you don't swap. Kran, how do you feel about, again, the broader question, or anything Bogur and I have spoken about?
I think
what version of this do you want to see?
I think you brought up a good point with the switching. I think in general the game mode should be looked at more as something fun at the start, especially. I don't think we should be trying to, like, push it into, oh, this is balanced, this is that. I think the way it is now makes it very, like, feel very different, and it shouldn't be taken too seriously. Even if you make it a competitive game mode, it shouldn't be taken too seriously. I think, as you said, with the switching, I really agree with that. But then they would need to obviously make it the talents kind of make the characters more versatile, so that you don't just instantly lose if you don't have the right characters.
Yeah.
But that's my main thoughts on the game mode.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a great point, is that, like, part of what makes it fun is the lack of seriousness. The same way the comparative, like, mystery heroes, for example, like, trying to balance that at some extent, it's antithetical to the point. And maybe even, again, maybe a hot take, but maybe even the initial success of Overwatch came down to this, is that, like, it was dumb and it was wacky and it didn't really make sense and wasn't fully balanced. Like, open queues, no limits.
6 Winston's jumping at you across the map, that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucking awesome.
Like,
awesome.
Overwatch was
Steve, stalling point on Hanamura point B.
I think most people's fun memories of Overwatch come from an early time when we weren't so obsessed with balance, and we hadn't like. I think most analysts would say that we've gotten better at balancing the game overall. I know that there's big holistic problems, 6v6, 5v5, but most people would say, like, hey, actually they kind of, a lot of the heroes individually are balanced and they've kind of tuned things a lot better. But yet we look back at older Overwatch for some of the wackiness, some of the game breaking, some of the silliness that occurred. So I think there's a great point to the fact that something like Junkenstein's Lab is better when it's not balanced and better when it's a little bit silly. And so
we like silly.
We love silly. I
love
agree.
silly.
Make it more silly.
So let's see how they go. And as you said, like, the seriousness of it, we'll see how serious they want to take it. Any other thoughts you guys have about Junkenstein's Lab before we move on? Reinforce, anything else you want to add?
Nope. Love the mode. Think it's great. See some small changes. I love how both Bogur and kraandop were like, yeah, keep it silly, but then there was make it competitive. That's like...
I like silly competitive.
Competitive silliness, Who is the silliest? Who is the silliest,
Who is the silliest? Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, it's great. I expect more of it, and I'm looking forward to see more heroes getting talents and stuff. Again, I don't know why I'm such a Lucio maximalist, but I think Lucio could be
here he goes again.
Hero in this game mode. It could be amazing.
They should
there's your-
remove Lucio's speed boost. Like remove the
Like,
speed boost.
what if you could talent so sound barrier deals damage instead of providing shield for your teammates?
No. Talent, no. Talent where you can kill people with your ult. Like back in the day,
you
April
land on
Fool's
them.
patch. Like when you landed them,
Oh,
1,000
yeah.
damage. That would be so fun. That
From
would be
the
so
rooftops,
fun.
you know,
Yeah.
get an
Can you
extra
imagine?
charge, like
imagine the
April
Frogger
Fools,
videos.
yeah.
That would be so funny.
It'd be glorious, yeah.
Playing Lucio just turns into Tony Hawk, so you're just trying to do the longest grind so you can get the biggest smackdown.
Yes,
be
that would be
great.
fun. That would be fun. We need more of that.
All right. Well, let's move on then. Before we get into talking about the 5.5.6.6 tests, let's quickly mention the new hero teaser. Since I got 3 tank mains, or again spiritual tank mains in the call here.
I'll take over. Don't worry, guys.
We've this is the first time in a while I feel like we've seen like in-game teasers. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen in-game
What?
teasers for a lot of the other.
We saw Juno. We knew
That's
about
true.
Juno before that,
That's true.
or did
Yeah,
we?
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, she'd been
Juno-
announced in BlizzCon, hadn't she? Like for quite a while.
So Doomfist back in the day.
That's what I mean when I say quite a
It's
while.
been a long time. It's been a
I
long
think
time.
that's like-
half a decade ago.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sombra, guys. Sombra. So don't forget.
It's been a decade.
Yeah, bro.
the
Half a
PTSD.
decade, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's close enough. We're getting there. So I think it has been a while since the first we've heard about a hero has come from like, a teaser in the map. And I think I saw a lot of lore people really appreciate that. And I think there has been a good progress on the lore side. Actually, I've seen a lot more things be dropped for
Bring back
those
Celosa.
for those people who are happy about it. But yeah, so we have in the Oasis spawn room, we have graffiti labeling Phreaks, which, is kind
That's
of an
me,
illusion.
by the way, I
That's-
just wanna point
that's-
this
yeah.
out.
All right, Bogur fishing for a new set of fans. But yeah, so we got this idea of like this freak tank hero, and there's this allusions to this being maybe like a new faction in Overwatch, like the Phreaks are like some sort of faction potentially. So
I hate that name. I hate it so much.
so name aside, Kran, how do you feel about this?
About the name, I feel horrendous. I think it's cool that they chose to like have more in-game teasers, so you feel more immersed with the launch. I love that how they did it with Stormbar back in the day. Definitely need some work on the name, but what they're doing,
You
I
want
do
silly.
like it.
This is silly.
This is horny. This is horny. I will say,
Thank you.
Overwatch has been getting far too openly horny. Now I'm not.
Discord of Kitten, now Phreaks. Like
Yeah,
what?
look,
Good shit.
Look,
Twitter
I'm as liberal.
Twitter?
I'm as liberal as they come. All right. I'm like, you know what? Do whatever the fuck you want. But I don't want to see the official Overwatch account tweeting feet pictures.
I do.
And calling the grippers.
I do.
Feet pics now.
Please.
Type one if you support the
No,
feedback.
Please,
I'm
guys,
not-
please stop the horny zoomerification of everything in the world. This is my boomer rant. This
You
is my
gotta lean
boomer
into
take.
it, man. You gotta lean
I
into
agree.
it.
I listen.
No.
Like, look at chat. Yeah, that's what I'm talking
I
about.
stand against it. I stand against it.
Listen.
I'm very
Chat
against
is
this one.
proving my point. Fuck these guys. Fuck all these guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Keep some
Thank you.
decorum, man. Keep some fucking decorum.
No, these guys are road and need to get on with the times. We need to get freaky up here.
It's just part of the community, man. Like Overwatch is embracing Overwatch.
Rio.
What
I
are
agree
the
with
reports
Reinforce.
that Phreak will have its toes out with like Sigma, like making them.
I think the
intentionally.
next
You
tank
had so
should
many
have their
toes
toes
to
out.
pick from, and you chose Sigma.
Yeah,
Hey,
because
listen,
Sigma
he's
toes,
basic.
like,
Those are good
Sigma,
toes.
those are iconic toes. Those are
And they're Dutch toes, so you
Exactly.
know, just at
I
home,
just-
like yeah. Oh,
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope they
Back
don't.
to
I
the
really
back to
hope.
the point about Phreaks then. Bogur, how did you feel about this hero tease, and what do you think about this new hero? Like, do you have any
I think
ideas
this-
on what might be going down?
I think the spawn is really cool the way they did it, and I think it's also cool that like I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna break the ice here, but many of us usually know what is going on. I don't know what the fuck is happening this time around, right? Like I'm in the dark. I have no idea what's happening with this hero. I don't know anything about this hero, so it's cool. It's fun to be in the dark and kind of just imagine what they could do or what they are. I know they're Scottish, maybe not. Maybe they're not Scottish. I just wish the character have more verticality. You know, if it's another tank that just presses W, I'll brain rot. Like, it will be insane. I just want a tank that is hard to play and has a lot of skill expression and maybe has a little bit of verticality. Right, that would be cool. What should I ask for?
Reinforce. What about you? What do you want to see from this new hero?
what I want to see from this new hero. I don't know. I like the voice line. There's a voice line at the end of the trailer, and I just like the
Voices.
Scottish voice
He
line.
should have a
I
voice.
like. It's a good voice, which makes it instills confidence in me. Like I know it's not gonna be like an Orisa robot, hopefully, kind of thing, because it's a good voice line. I didn't spend that much time in the spawn. Apparently, there were like lots of sprays in spawn and like different wording and stuff. I didn't look into that. I don't know. People are saying that Phreaks is the name of the gang.
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if his name is Freaky?
No.
Or Freak
Get this guy off the
King
call.
or something. Like that.
Freaky guy.
Freaking.
Freaky.
like-
I will
Freak King.
The
I
Freakster.
will unironically uninstall the game if that's the case. Like you can
Your
mark me on
ass
that.
doesn't-
I will
Your
quit
ass-
Overwatch.
Your next video will be I spent 100 hours on the newest Freak character.
I spent if that's the case, I spent
100
100
hours
in
getting
solitary
freaky.
confinement.
100
I
hours
spent
getting
100 hours touching grass.
Yes, I will.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah. I agree with the other guys. Like I think new tank heroes have been kind of rough so far in Overwatch 2. Like we all love Junker Queen. Like Junker Queen is so much fun. It's like an explosive, kind of like volatile hero. Like either you just pound and you get like a sick 3k, you swing a big axe.
No, it's cool.
Really fun ultimate. That's really cool.
But the others are kind of.
Mauga was like pretty underwhelming. I like picking
careful.
Mauga to counter Roadhogs. I like picking
Careful.
Mauga. I do like it. But like the whole Mauga meta thing, that was pretty lame. Like the other guy said, I think most real tank mains, okay, most honest tank players, we like
Not
movement. Okay, I like people think about Reinhardt and they're like, oh, this is sturdy tank with a shield and a hammer. Yeah, but the cool thing about Reinhardt is you can charge. Like the charge is the most fun thing about Reinhardt. And so whatever it is, I don't like playing Orisa that much. I don't like playing Ramatra that much. I don't like playing Mauga that much because they're like pretty stiff. There's they got bad knees. They need some athleticism. I want some movement. So
Some
I'm
younger
kind of with the
heroes.
other guys.
Yeah, Kran,
Yeah.
like, Zach, kind of you started this as well, but how do you feel? You want this tank
For
to be
sure.
a mobile tank, more like in the Winston Diva kind of vein?
Yeah, 100%. I've been advocating for this literally since the start of Overwatch 2.
It's crazy. It's taken them 2 years to maybe get a character out like that.
Yeah. No, I like Winston a lot. I like Wrecking Ball a lot. I think it's a really cool design.
Yeah.
But we've been on the ground. We've been stuck. Our wings have been taken off. I need them back.
I like Doomfist, but I feel like every time I pick Doomfist, my chat, they shame me. They're like, oh, here comes the reinforced Doomfist. It's like because Doomfist used to be a damage character, it has such like an elitist fan base that if you pick Doomfist in a game, there's like a lot of pressure on you to be a good Doomfist because otherwise you look like the most dumb idiot ever. And so it's I feel like I can't pick Doomfist because people just make fun of me. So
Why do you
I don't
care
know.
about what they're talking about in chat? Just keep playing Doomfist, bro. Lock
yeah,
in.
well, it's embarrassing. I'm like trying to get my punch up, and then I'm like, I got a weak punch, and then I miss my stuff, and then I'm left in the open.
And then you're off the map, and you're throwing reported.
Yeah,
and then,
it's awkward. It's
Just
awkward.
be silly, Reinforce.
Be silly. No, I mean I'll play Reinhardt in that case.
Be
Reinhardt's just my
silly but
go-to.
competitive. Silly
Silly
but
with
competitive.
Reinhardt.
That's
Is
right.
the great mix. Okay, any other thoughts on? I won't even say it as to not upset Kran, but the next tank.
Thank you.
Any
Freak.
thoughts? Any
I like
other
the
things
voice.
you wanted to mention? You like the voice.
Yeah, I
the,
like
voice, the voice. I don't know about any other leaks. I only have heard the voice and I've seen the spawn. That's about all I know about the character. But
I think that's about it.
no,
And he's Scottish, maybe.
that's those two things that we've seen so far. They look good. They're going the right direction.
Because
Also,
it's part of the Phreaks gang, great marketing potential for Overwatch. Great marketing potential.
Do we want those people in the game though? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're already
They're
here, bro.
already here.
No.
They're already
The problem
here,
is,
bro.
Kran, they're in this call right now.
Yeah.
This half of the
They-
screen is just fucking horny on main.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right.
I'm not that horny of a person, SVB. I'm like the old dad. Like
That's a crazy
like,
statement. That's a crazy statement.
On my stream, I play like freaking old 70s and 80s songs, and I like barbecuing, and I like the good old times. Like I'm not that zoomer even. So I don't even fit this. I don't even watch anime. I'm not a weeb. So like I don't even fit the like demographic. So
What?
So like I but I if people
want to get
like
freaky, they just go with them.
they do their thing.
Listen,
do their
if you want to
thing.
get freaky, they can always visit my stream. Always saying,
See,
Exactly.
if you're a dad, you're
I'm
like
not
an
gonna
overly.
speak up against the freak.
Shameless.
If you're a
I'm gonna
dad, you're
support
like
the
an
freaking.
overly liberal white dad who's just like, you know what? You want to drink in the house, son? Go ahead. You want to get freaky in the house, son? Go ahead. You're like
I wouldn't say
too loose of a
It's a
dad.
relationship. My Twitch chat is not my son. Like I would like to separate those two. So, but
I mean, hey, people
yeah, I
get
don't know.
parasocial with it.
Yeah, if they're hanging out to my Twitch chat, well, never mind. I'm not gonna go say anything.
No, careful.
No,
Yeah.
we move on.
All right, moving
move
on. Moving on. So now it's for the time. We've been talking about horniness. We're gonna have to talk about some 6v6 sexuals now, as Bogur likes to call them.
Good segue.
There you go. So, announced across this and the next season are going to be some experiments with the format of Overwatch based around the whole 6v6, 5v5 thing. So, we'll talk on each. There's going to be four distinct tests, or at least that's what we know about. Maybe there'll be more. That will be messing around with this. But before we get into talking about each of those, I want your overall thoughts that, the sort of this, essentially we'll just call these the 6v6 tests are coming. So your thoughts on, whether this is needed, how happy you are with it, and what you kind of expect from them. So I'll take it to Kran first. Kran, how do you feel about the 6v6 tests arriving?
I think in general, 6v6 isn't necessarily good for the game, but I do like that they're testing with it. I like that they're throwing a new possibility in there. I like being able to, it makes the game feel a little fresh. So I think it's a good play to make, especially because if you let people test it, then we have a more definitive way of saying, okay, it's actually good or it's not as good. So we don't have the debate hanging around for too long.
We're finally settling this. Bogur, you're about to say something?
No.
Okay, Reinforcing was starting to chime
Well,
in.
I'm curious about Bogur's take here. I think it's the easiest take ever. It's just like it's good for the game. People who really like 6 versus 6, they're gonna come back. They're gonna reinstall the game. They're gonna play Overwatch. It offers us another way to play Overwatch, similar to the Junkenstein's lab game mode. Like it just gives us another opportunity to play the game in a different way, which is fun. So I think it's going to be really fun. I will say that my stance is that I don't think 6 versus 6 will ever become the competitive mode going forward. Like I think 5v5 is here to stay. But I think it's good that they're giving us more of an opportunity to play the game in different ways, and so I welcome it.
I'm warning you now, Reinforce. Be careful because you're gonna get clipped, and then every 6v6
6v6 sexuals are fucking stupid and need to shut the fuck up, okay? No, I'm joking. Basically, my honest to God opinion is that it's cool. I'm excited to play with tank players. I know why people assume that 6v6 is gonna fix every issue. It's just so surreal. Like, it's like 6v6 is gonna come out, and then people are gonna play something else. I can't imagine the stupid time comps that are gonna come out, and it's gonna take a decade for Blizzard to fix the characters or the synergies or whatever. It's like, it's fun. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be wacky. It's gonna be silly. I don't see them fully reverting to 6v6. I like the idea. I like the option. I don't think people understand that it's not gonna fix everything, because the same people that say that Overwatch died when they swapped to 5v5 also were not actually playing the game during 6v6 either. I'll be honest, they probably played, like, some people played a lot, I agree, but they played a lot first 2 years, right? So it's just also the second thing, in my honest to God opinion, is if we swap fully to 6v6, we're gonna have a new wave of people complaining that they want 5v5 back. I just say it.
100%.
It's gonna be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, so my hope for the 6v6 tests is that they will, remind everyone of what they do or don't want. Like, okay, I actually really do want 6-6, or I actually really don't want 6-6, or I really hate 5v5, and I see it now more clearly. And I hope it kind of gives... It's not going to end the debate, but I hope it gives people more clarity. That's my hope, but my fear is that it's, depending on how it's done, it's just going to add more fuel to the fire. Because I think what Bogur has brought up there, I have no horse in this race. Again, you have to say this every time because I think people assume that you're biased or whatever. But I don't even play fucking Overwatch. So I don't care if they go 6v6, 5v5. What's most alarming is the way the discussions takes place, and Bogur's kind of alluding to the like almost zealotry I think that has come around with the 6v6 crowd. Not to call people out. But it just feels like the discussions around 6v6 are like religious zealotry, where it's like, this will save the entire world, and like anyone who's against the idea is like bought and paid for and like a fucking idiot, and like
so surreal.
It's just
like the U.S. elections all over again. Just
it
in Overwatch.
it is just the way the discourse takes place online now, where it's just like people are like, you're. Also, there's another alarming theme is like people are like, there's something being hidden from them. Like the 6v6 is like, they're taking it away from us and you're hiding it. Like the devs are going to sabotage. I saw this take was like the devs are going to sabotage the 6v6 tests so that it proves that 5v5 is better. It's like, bro, you're just fucking stupid, bro. You just fucking stupid. Like, just bring some reality. It's just a fucking formats, one extra player in the lobby. Like, I get it. That might be what you prefer. But like, my fear is that it's gotten so conspiratorial that let's say the 6v6 tests go down and it's maybe people are like, it's not long enough, like you didn't give us enough time, it's not balanced the right way. And I worry that people will still not be happy. Because like either way, like let's say you give it for 2 weeks and people love it. Well then 5v5 people are going to be like, oh well, 2 weeks isn't long enough for people to get bored. You need to give it 2 months and then see if people are still bored. But then if they give it too long, people are going to be like, you didn't give it long, like you gave it too long and you didn't give us the right balance and blah, blah, blah. I'm just hoping it doesn't cause more problems, and it actually brings us some clarity.
So are we going like all in on the classic 6 versus 6 debate now? Because there's 4 tests coming, 2 of which is 5 versus 5, and 2 are 6 versus 6. So do you just want to do the classic 2-2 discussion now, or?
Well, we're going to go through each of the 4 things. We're going to go through.
I got a bag, but
right now I want to talk big picture. So if you have like a big picture thought on like the whole 6v6 5v5 thing, we can go, and then we're going to talk about like what each of the tests that they're going to do might do for the game.
Well, we'll go one by one, and when we get there, I'll.
Okay, Kran, you had something you wanted to add.
I think a lot of people that complain about balance right now are the same people that complain about 6v6. Needing to be in the game, and I feel like if you're going to add another character, especially another tank, it's just going to make it even harder to balance, to be honest. Like you're going to need CC to keep them in check, and it's just going to feel unrewarding to play. That's what happened at the end of 6v6, but for some reason people associate 6v6 with 2016, which the game was already not anymore, in my opinion.
Yeah, the game was really raw back then. It didn't have all these big AoE healing. It didn't have like the Juno kind of characters that we do now. And I think when people think about the quote unquote good old days with 6 versus 6, I think they think back to a time when we didn't have that complicated or like well-rounded characters in the game. There was a lot of like individual kind of like weaknesses to most characters, which to some degree could be a fun gameplay loop. But I feel like if you were to go back to that time, you would have to redesign like so many of the new heroes that's been released. You'd have to nerf sustain and just shift the balance philosophy to Overwatch in the first place. And I just don't think like that is reasonable at all. Like I don't think there's so much mitigation and sustain in the game that I think they'd have to peel back so much of that to make 6 versus 6 what it used to be in the good old days. And I don't think we can do that, because I think that's just going to homogenize more and more heroes. Like more and more of these characters, like Juno, for example, like they're going to lose some of their identity. They're allowed in 5 versus 5 because there is one less tank on the field, because there is one less hero with a defense matrix or a Sara bubble. Then to kind of like rephrase what I'm trying to say here is that because there's one less mitigation ability, like defense matrix, you can buff supports a little bit. You can make supports stronger because there's less protection for them in the team, right? Whereas if you reintroduce an off-tank, you're going to have to nerf support characters, nerf how healthy they are, and like and make them more diveable, right? And I just don't think you can like reverse all of that, which we've already gone through for the past few years. And so I just don't see how we're gonna change the entire like philosophy on 6 versus 6 and the current game design and balance.
Well, I don't want to speak for the 6v6 side because again, I'm not on any side.
6v6 sex
It's the
shows.
sex shows, yeah, exactly. The representation for them is important, but I will try and bring some balance in the sense that I would imagine they would say that they've actually been running their 6v6 tests in various different iterations and they've been successful, according to them. Like the problems you're saying can be easily addressed by like just tweaking a few things here and there, and the benefits you gain from having that extra tank and not having gigabuff singular tanks is worth
there's pros. I'm not like, let's not pretend that everything about 6 versus 6 was bad. Like there are some benefits that come with 6 versus 6. For example, there's less power spike to a single tank character. Like there's one, now with 5 versus 5, there's one tank player that is pretty well compensated for the lack of an off tank, and that is usually the most powerful role, right? But that's the way it has to be in 5 versus 5. In 6 versus 6, the power distribution between all 6 players would be more equally distributed. And so I think that's a great pro of 6 versus 6, but I don't think it's going to make the game more fun just because of that.
Okay, Bogur, any thoughts on like the big picture 6v6 stuff? Do you have kind of what's your optimistic interpretation? Like what could be good about the 6v6 before we get into the details of it?
I can play with Kran once more.
The good old days.
The good old days. I can play with. I can get into a team with Cloudy doing a no shield run. Isn't that a beautiful thought? Flame each other. Emong Flats duo will return. Tank duo. The good old nature will heal again. Imagine Emong and Flats in the same team playing tank. That would be the best timeline, right? I think the best thing is that you can play with your tank buddies because we did have a lot of. I do miss it. We had a lot of tank synergy. We had a lot of tank camaraderie. I used to play duo queue with KSA a lot. I used to play duo with a bunch of off tanks, with Guru sometimes. It was fun. It was memorable. Sometimes I would meme and duo with another main tank. That was fun. It was memeable. It was cool. It was enjoyable. I missed that. Now it's a solo experience. You walk a lonely road, So I do miss that aspect, and it'll be fun to do it again.
Or I was thought he was going to break out into full like emo rock lyrics there. He's like, "I walk this lonely road." I thought he was going to go. He's going to start going off. Kran,
so less fun queuing into a Roadhog one trick and stuff like that, but
it's true.
That's rough, yeah. But yeah, I agree with Bogur for sure. I think that is the one thing I would say is most that I would like the most about 6v6 is that opportunity to play with some of your tank buddies and good old friends. In that way, that's something I would look forward to. But for the game's health wise, I'm still not convinced.
Okay. Well, let's see what the test could provide, and let's discuss what the test could provide, and maybe see if that convinces any of you. So let's go chronologically, or at least we'll start with the 2 5v5 ones that are coming this season. So we have a quick play hacked coming in with what's called Limit 2. So this will be 5v5 with the max number of each role limited to 2. Now, this is something I floated back, like, I don't even know how long ago now, like at least a year ago or something. And I think, Bogur, you were here as well when we discussed this idea before on the podcast. So how do we feel about, this 5v5, but with a limit of 2 to any role? Would this be potentially good, Bogur?
Yeah, I think could be cool. I think anything would go. I think as long as you try it. What was it again? It was 5v5, but
max 2 of any role. So
max
you could,
yeah.
So you could, have 2 tanks, so you could have, 2, only have 1 DPS.
It'll be cool because you can run down with 1 DPS. I don't think you can run down with 1 support. I'll be honest with you. I think that is a bit of a cooked. Like, which 1 support would even run? Like, they're gonna have a mental breakdown.
I will say, in open queue, as someone who's recently played it, you play a lot of in the higher you get, the more teams only play 1 support, but then you only have tanks basically. You basically play 4 tanks and
but it's easy to kill the support.
Is it? I mean, it's easier, but not necessarily really easy. but that is what you see a lot, at least in that part of
I also okay. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna offend open queuers. I don't think competitive open queue is that competitive.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's not the most competitive game. I agree.
I don't think it's that competitive.
But-
I don't think they have it all figured out.
But in general, I do agree. But I think the thing about limiting to 2 roles is you're basically just removing a DPS. I don't see a world where you would not pick a second tank if you have the
I
option.
agree. I think just the tank is just a better DPS every single time.
Yeah.
Like I'd much rather have a diva than another soldier, or than a like whatever, or a Junker Queen buffing my entire team, or an Orisa, or a ball, or anything.
Yeah.
Like
Before I take it to Reinforce, I think this is what touches my fear about these tests, is that they're going to be too flimsy to really be meaningful. Like, you're going to have to make so many balance changes to make this work, because as you guys are saying, if you're essentially competing with between a tank and a DPS and a support for one slot, people are going to pick, the bang for the buck. And, we've spoken in Overwatch 2 about supports are overtuned, and of course tanks are overtuned. And even if you bring them to open queue HP, they generally do more than DPS. So you're going to have to, realistically, you'd have to buff the DPS category largely, or create systems, and we'll get into the Kingmaker system in a second, but you'll have to create systems to enable the least desired role, right? You'd have to see the meta emerge. Okay, people aren't picking, let's say, support. We're going to have to find a way to make picking another support desirable, like make it alluring. And you get as close to, what is the one role that's being picked? Actually, it's quite evenly spread. Like, you want to get to that place, but you're never going to get to that place in a quick play weekend or whatever, like the 2-3 days that you do. So it's like a good idea, like tested very flimsily. I'm not convinced we're going to learn too much beyond like knee-jerk gut reactions of like, oh, tanks are just overtuned. Oh, the supports are just crap in this mode, or whatever it is that we're going to like learn on day one. Reinforce.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think because the 6 versus 6 debate is so like hotly contested and it's so agitating, I feel like the developers have like kind of like put themselves on the back foot, where they're like, oh, okay, well, we're going to try to treat you seriously. We're going to try to seriously have 6 versus 6 tests. But I think the best approach for all these tests is like, hey, this is a silly way to play the game. The developers will learn more. They'll get some more data points, which they can learn from and maybe use that to design a better game, or learn something new that they can use for the future. So I think this is just like silly new ways to play the game. Like the Limit 2 thing, it's essentially an open queue adaptation. And I don't think it's any more of that. Like if you seriously go into some of these tests and you think, oh, they're trying ways to make a new competitive format for Overwatch. It's like, no, like this is just, they're presenting new ways to play the game. We're going to have fun with it. It's going to be fun to be silly with it, but it's not going to be life-changing. And I don't think the developers have the expectation that it's going to be life-changing either. It'll just be a fun way when you open the game. It'll be like, hey, try out Limit 2. And hey, try out Kingmaker. And maybe they'll learn something from it. Maybe we won't.
I think
that's a much healthier mindset for like the players than to take it so seriously,
I 100% agree with that statement. I think I will disagree slightly in that I do think there's a genuine attempt here from the developers to investigate the format of Overwatch. I think what these tests are showing us is that they are quite uncertain if 5v5 role queue is the way forwards. Like, I am not sold. And this is also just my personal reading from my discussions with the developers, that I don't think they're sold that this is the way forward. Like, I'm not sure they're wedded to the idea. I think they're genuinely quite open to the idea of like, maybe it's time for something different. Like maybe we could do something different.
Okay,
I'm not saying that these tests are like that. They're like, this is what we would present, guys. I think they are meant to be like fact-finding exercise. They're like, oh, what could we learn? But I do think picture, they are willing to change the format of the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think the developers are sat in their castle at Blizzard Campus thinking like, oh, 5 versus 5 is the true way to play Overwatch. Like I genuinely think they are looking for ways to change it up. Like they're genuinely like, hey, would Kingmaker be a viable option if people are so tired of an overbuffed tank all the time? What would an overbuffed kind of like single support look like? Like I think they're generally open-minded to that and willing to try it out. But I don't think they're desperate to find an alternate, better way to play the game. I think they're just willing to experiment and have fun doing it.
Any other thoughts on the Limit 2, guys? Cran? Any other thoughts on like the Limit 2 format specifically?
I think that's probably the least interesting one, just because of the fact that you're probably just going to end up picking 2 tanks. It's the most predictable one, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I think it's gonna get solved very quickly, which is my problem with the nature of these tests. I think that's like a problem with the format of the test. Like if you really wanted to test this, you'd have to do it over an extended period of time and adjust as you like. Okay, people are picking tanks. How do we make picking 2 DPS more viable? Blah 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 blah. So, and I guess maybe this is where the Kingmaker comes in. So let's talk about the Kingmaker mode. So this is the max. So this is essentially the same thing: 5v5, limit of 2, but the player who is alone in their role gets a bonus. Now, of course, they haven't specified yet what that bonus is, but this is the thing I was alluding to earlier. This is the systematic and the format addressing the like, okay, well, people aren't picking DPS. Well, now DPS gets a buff, so that compensates.
Imagine a Giga buff Tracer in your backline.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a better way to go about it, because then now you need to choose between either Giga buffing your tank or having 2 tanks and then a good DPS. So
What are they gonna Giga buff? Like, what is it gonna be like? Are they gonna
They
Giga
haven't
buff
specified.
the tank the way he is right now, or the way he is in open queue? Because imagine a Giga buff tank in the basic standard
yeah,
5
exactly, that's what I mean.
Fucking Reinhardt on steroids or something.
Or Risa on steroids.
Or
imagine.
Risa on steroids, bro. Fuck. Hell, you spooky.
If I had to guess, I think they'll look at like the damage passive, right, with the reduced healing. Like what is that? Like 20%? No, 15, something like that. Like they're probably just if it's a solo damage player, like they'll probably just make that stronger. So like
I don't think
reduce
that's
healing
enough,
by
though.
35, 40%.
35.
I mean, maybe if that much
They
more.
just don't heal. They just don't heal anymore. Any
I don't
damage to
think-
the DPS
I
is
just think it's the
anti-heal.
role passives they'll look at.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really hard to do a Giga buff for every single character.
I think it's gonna be like flat, like 20% more HP. I don't know, 15% more damage or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. You know, some more movement speed maybe.
It could
I don't
definitely
know.
be like general things and not like hero specific.
Yeah, for like support, if you're solo support, 30% more health and some more healing
Lower
done.
cooldown.
25% healing done. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I think there's literally zero chance that it's hero specific. Just considering the time they invest.
Imagine it is. That would pop off hard.
I mean, that would
If
be
they-
sick.
That would
If
be
they
sick.
did, hats off to them. I'd
That would
come
be
and play
sick.
Overwatch, but I think that
Talents.
yeah, maybe. I think it's like it's like if it's probably what they're gonna do is they're gonna tune the tanks down to like open queue health, and then if you pick a tank, well, you're just back to like normal 5v5 tank,
Normal,
which would be the
yeah.
most
That would be boring.
which would be the most
be so
boring
boring.
version to play that game because you're just literally playing the normal game. But presumably the greater interest lies in what you would do with the other roles and like what would happen to a DPS or a support.
I think when it comes to Kingmaker, I think people just need to ask themselves, it's like, what role would you want to be buffed? Like, would you want to play against a buffed Widowmaker? Like, would that be fun?
I mean, if you have 2 tanks,
Depends
it
on
doesn't
how.
really matter. Like that, I feel like you're gonna end up picking 2 tanks anyway, just because you're just making your DPS another tank in a way, almost. You know,
Depends on the buffs, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It does depend on the
does,
buffs. I feel like, why would you do only 1 tank when
I agree.
you'd have 2 tanks anyway? Like
You can have 3 tanks. Triple
Exactly.
tank comp. You can have May as a tank.
No,
That'd
not
be
in this
awesome.
one. This is still limit 2.
No,
but,
no. But the idea is that if you buff
Right, if
like
you
the
could,
DPS,
if
it's gonna
you
be
could.
like a third tank. No, it's gonna be like a
that's
tank
true.
if they buff the
Right.
DPS. Like especially if
Right.
it's like a tanky DPS, like May or Reaper. It's basically a third tank.
yeah.
I just
So
think.
I feel
Yeah, go on.
good.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just
Please.
gonna say. I was gonna say the same thing with that. If you have 2 tanks in your face, you're not gonna be able to do anything anyway as a buff tank. Like 2 tanks, you would need to have like such a hard buff on the first tank in order to get more value than the other 2, non-buff tanks.
Yeah. I just feel like even if it's Kingmaker and they're trying something new, people don't like when there is one player in the lobby who gets buffs and is extra strong. In current day and age, it's tank. Oh, like tank has a higher power spike than the rest of the players in the lobby. I just think the same will apply to damage and support players.
I just had a thought and a question, which I guess there will be systems in this mode, but like what happens, because presumably you can switch and you can switch roles presumably in the middle of this game. What happens if you're like a tracer out there and you're like double HP and then someone in spawn swaps out to the tank,
The-
and all of a sudden
yeah,
your HP just
Correct.
cuts
Bro,
in
that'll
half.
be like an anime moment. That'll be like that'll be crazy.
Or the other way around. You have another
opposite,
DPS,
yeah, exactly.
and you're like, bro, buff me right now. Swap off.
Buff
And
me.
you're
I
like,
can carry, bro. I can carry.
Double-
Swap off tank.
double-
Yeah, swap
double
off.
your
Swap off DPS right now.
let me lock in, bro. Just swap off right now.
You can
But
hear
trust
the
me.
I'm in the
walking
back
music.
line. I'm in the back line. Just swap off. I'm hiding.
I would swap off for Kevster, for example. I would
Yeah,
swap off
exactly.
for Kevster.
Buff capture. Go.
Buff capture.
I mean, I'm sure
honestly,
that's-
that'd be kind of fun.
that's
But
something they
that'll be
figured out.
fun,
yeah.
I'm sure that's-
That would be fun, but there's probably some systems in place for
You
that.
probably just can't swap or something in the middle. Like maybe they just need to make it so you can't swap roles at the very least or something.
Or maybe it applies after someone dies, or I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe there must be
I'm
some.
glad I don't have to figure this out.
Yeah.
No, I'm
For
glad
me.
I'm not a developer.
Yeah, and again, I think to round off, I think the DPS role just has the least synergy within itself. I think so. It makes sense. Like supports synergize well and they protect each other. Tanks synergize well to protect each other. DPS tend to not actively synergize so much. So I think it makes sense that they would fall off. Okay.
Yeah.
So any other thoughts on like the 2 5v5 tests before we talk about the actual 6v6 tests?
The latter thing that we discussed is 10 times more interesting than the first one, by the way.
The
Yeah,
Kingmaker.
I do agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it's a
first
layer
one
of
is like a more like a minor tweak. I mean, it isn't. It is actually still big. Like if you actually added that to the game, it would be huge. But in terms of
Yeah.
like the player experience, it's like
It's just it's
doesn't
the
feel-
most predictable one. It's just you know what's going to happen.
Mm.
It's-
Well, again, it's like it's the most realistic in some ways. Like if you were to actually like want to change Overwatch, that's the most realistic way of doing it. Is like okay,
Yeah.
well, go back to sort of open queue hybrid. And again,
And
I definitely am a fan of the idea. I think it could be explored well. I just don't think it's going to be explored well here. Like I think it's a quick play hack. It's 2 days. What are we going to learn from 2 days of people being like, oh well, looks like everyone's picking 2 tanks. Okay then, you know. So we'll see what happens. Then moving on, the first 6v6 test is going to be min 1, max 3. So each team must have 1 of each role and no more than 3 of each role. Reinforce, what is this going to do for the game?
Triple tank is coming back, man.
Yeah.
It's
For sure. Can you imagine the wacky shit
so
you can
painful.
do? Like a
Yeah.
Queen, a Ryan, and a Zarya, or I don't even like. I can't even imagine what
Winston
kind of
Diva Doom.
Mauga E would also
Winston
be really
Diva
good.
Doom, bro. Oh my god, the backline. Mauga with
Mauga,
goat.
yeah, just
Oh,
Ryan
yeah.
and then
Sigma
Mauga shooting
Mauga.
behind the shield,
Imagine
and then just-
three tank versus 3 tanks and Mauga ults, and then you like it's a brawl inside the fucking ult. Oh my god.
Mauga
I mean, I
goes,
know
man,
they'll
it's
balance the
coming.
game, but I know they're gonna balance accordingly. But like, man, triple tank, triple support. It's gonna be a lot. I don't
mean,
know.
It would have to be 2 supports and 1 DPS, right? Because there's a minimum of 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, yeah, I
You
don't
can-
see a
yeah,
world where it's not going to be 3 tanks. If they unless they obviously change tanks a lot, then yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Just-
playing 1 tank is 1 DPS is worth it because the DPS passive, because you're
true.
gonna reduce the healing as well. So
Speaking
Just
of May, call it a day.
pick soldiers
Yeah,
in 1
May.
DPS and drop a healing station that Mauga case that you're both mirroring. It's just like got a bit of extra sustain in there.
I'm just
Um,
wondering what are the most wacky like tank comps you can come up with. This would be crazy because the Mauga E is gonna be so broken.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a good chance that we just see Diva everywhere again.
Mauga,
Diva-
Orisa Roadhog. Telling you this is no.
that's the
Mauga,
uninstall
Orisa
comp.
Sigma. Mauga, Orisa Sigma. Oh my god, that would be horrible.
So we've had a few different metas in the past in Overwatch 1, where it's triple tank was obviously like the biggest one. And I know we can't do triple tank, triple support anymore. You need at least 1 damage. But there was also a couple of metas that was like triple DPS. Like in 2017, there was like a triple damage meta. It was like Winston, Soldier, Genji, Tracer. That was like the meta in Europe for like 4 months or something.
I remember
the top
that.
teams in a way, but
I remember that, but that was like we had a really limited support pool, right? Back in the day, we had no like it was very early on in Overwatch. This is
Pre-Moira,
what you're. Yeah, I remember because I scrimmed.
pre-Moira, pre-Brigade.
Yeah, I scrimmed that. So it was the reason why that works because there wasn't enough healing to support more tanks. I feel like, or people didn't figure out that you can play more tanks. But now that people know you can play more tanks and you have so many characters you can heal so much, I don't think it's ever going to be triple DPS again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had Chengdu Hunters back in the day with
We
the
did.
Ball, Farah,
But,
Zen, Mercy.
But that was
yeah.
but that was to counter growths.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Yeah, I guess
you think-
my point that I was trying to make is just that, like, I don't think triple damage compositions are as toxic as triple tank compositions.
I agree completely, because you can like win 1v1s and you can like kill them pretty easily, and you can outplay them on support, but you can't outplay 3 tanks on support. Like what,
What are you gonna do, bro?
You're just gonna die.
Yeah, it's a health pool and sustain problem.
I agree.
So,
But do you think there's a chance that people will adapt in the way that we talked about? Like, well, they made this triple DPS comp to attack goats. If like, let's say immediately people are picking 3 tanks, 1 DPS, 2 supports, do you think people will start to form bigger format answers, or are we just going to go down the same cycle and it's going to be goats mirror essentially?
I think people get gaslit into running compositions that everybody else is running, even if maybe that comp isn't the most meta comp, because I've seen a lot of regions have different metas, and I think it's because like the top players and the top teams run it, then everyone just runs it as well. Nobody even thinks about it.
Every time a new patch drops, you get stunned by a new comp once. Everybody plays it.
Everybody copies it because it's easier to copy and learn that comp than try to make a new comp to work against that comp. It's always easier to just copy whatever the best do.
If you consider compositions in current day, like 5 versus 5, you can make a nasty dive composition, like really extreme dive composition. I mean, you can do like, Doomfist, Tracer, Genji, Lucio, Kiriko. You can make it like that's not necessarily the most dive composition, but like it's really hard dive. Or you can make like the biggest poke composition. You can make like Sigma, Hanzo, Widowmaker, BAP. Just make it as much poke as you can. The problem, I think, with Max 3 is that you're giving players more optionality to make them even more extreme. So now you can make like the beefiest brawl composition, and now you can make like the most diviest triple dive composition, and I think that's just impossible to balance. Like those are such compositional extremes that it's not sustainable and it's not healthy for the game. And so one of the main arguments that 6v sexuals, is that what you call them, Bogur? Is that, but the new balance team, if we had the new balance team back in 2020 or 2019, they would have fixed this. It would have been way better off. And they would have nerfed goats immediately. The problem with goats, it lasted too long. Goats lasted too long. And they would have nerfed it in like 2 months. And like, sure, I can buy that. That's a balance philosophy that like, hey, we're going to proactively nerf compositions that are really strong. But I think even the best balance team, as good as balance had been in Overwatch 2, generally speaking, I think that Max 3 is so toxic for the most extreme compositions that it's insanely hard to balance. And I don't blame the developers if they were to like get that wrong, I think it's just you're allowing the game to get way too out of hand at its most extreme when it comes to compositions, and I don't think that's healthy for the game. And as much as I love the devs, I think that's like an impossibility. I don't think you can balance around Max 3. I think it's too much.
I think
go ahead, Bogur.
I was gonna say that I think it's hard to balance, but I think the reason why people liked it is because it just allowed for more fun, wacky stuff. Like for us, it wasn't wacky because people just played goats and whatever. But I think in lower elos, people just played like so many random stuff, and it was just funny and memorable. I think that's what people miss. But I don't think we're ever gonna come back to that ever. I think that's ever gonna happen.
Well, that's basically what I was going to say, is that maybe the counterpoint people would make is that, well, it may be less balanced, but it might be more fun. And we kind of did speak earlier about the goofy, wacky appeal of Overwatch. It's going to be a little bit more silly.
It is about the goofy, wacky appeal. It was like, even though it was really annoying, it was still funny getting into a game with like 4 Reinhardt players and figuring out what the fuck is going on. It wasn't fun because you're going to lose the game, but it was also fun like winning a ranked game with 5 DPS. And or 4 DPS, 1 support, 1 tank, or whatever. I don't know. It was just more memorable. Now, like it feels like really streamlined, and overall maybe more enjoyable, like more consistently enjoyable. But just there was the highs back then were very high, and the lows were very, very low. And then right now it feels like really streamlined, and I think that's why a lot of people don't like. Because I think a lot of people remember the really high highs, and then they forget the really fucking low lows.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that's a perfect point. I just have PTSD, and so I just remember the lows. I just
Yeah,
remember.
I remember the lows
really
too.
bad
That's why I get really upset when people are sitting there saying, "Oh, it's the perfect thing ever. There's gonna be no problems whatsoever, guys. Just relax. The game is gonna be so much better with 66." Like, do you not remember the weird stuff we had to fight every day, like the double shields, the goats, the absolute horrendous compositions we had to play against every day?
Diva in your face perfectly.
Diva in
Quick
your
stunts. Yeah.
Well,
I
fighting your
remember
own
it.
teammates, well, fighting your own Roadhog off tank who just fucking.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
so annoying. I get in the game and I'm playing against, for example, Ben Best Poco, and my guy is fucking Big Chungus 7 on Roadhog, and I'm playing Ryan, and I'm just fucking lost the game. It's over.
There's ups and downs to it, but yeah, I think there were a lot more downs, to be honest.
But winning with Big Chungus on Roadhog versus Poco or Ben Best, that was fucking epic.
The one
You
time
know?
out of 10 that you did beat
Yeah,
them.
but that was fucking memorable as fuck.
So yeah, Kran, do you see any value in the sort of the wackiness and the we've said maybe it's harder to balance. Some people might disagree with that. They might say 3 tanks is balanceable. But do you think there's value in like, well, okay, but it might be more entertaining?
I think there's value in wackiness in general and the fun of the play. And then at the end of the day, it is a game, and it is meant to be fun. But during GOATs, I didn't hear anyone saying on Twitter they were enjoying it. Even like the lower ranked players, I didn't hear. I heard the same people also complain, "Our GOATs is too much." I didn't really.
Those was fun for pro play if you scrim.
Yeah, exactly. But
I will say, go ahead, Kran,
Yeah.
finish your part, and then I'll
Yeah, I just didn't see the fun from other people in it either, from even the lower ranks. I don't know.
I will say that I think the idea that people in Plat were playing GOATs is a myth. And I stand by this because I remember very vividly that people were not playing GOATs in the metal ranks. However, they had other problems caused by 6v6 in open queue, which is just that Ryan Zarya was fucking dominant in Plat. And people, if you still had, it's the same problem as that you still have Big Chungus 7 on Roadhog, you're still going to lose when no matter what you're trying to play. And like the number of double off tank, like Diva Zaryas that were going to get played, or just, you're playing Reinhardt, he's playing Ball somewhere in Narnia. I think GOATs ruining Plat was a myth. I don't think that ever happened. But I think that open queue for its other problems caused problems. Again, I'm not going to say whether it was better or worse. Who can say? But, I mean, GOATs definitely wrecked pro play. That's for sure.
All I'm saying is they bring back 6v6. It's going to be so fucking fun for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to be miserable as fuck. I'm just going to say it straight up. I'm going to have the time of my life for 2 weeks straight, and then people are going to figure out the meta, and it's going to be Malga, Junker Queen, Orisa, and I'm going to fucking go fully bold.
I think
Yeah,
I think we've gotten even faster than that. I think it'll take like 3 days.
Yeah,
and then
I
you'll
think,
see
I
what
think it'll
people
go
have
real
figured out.
fast. I think people will start off trying like fun. I think Reinhardt will be played quite a lot. People will kind of going back to like the Ryan Zarya stuff because they've been reminiscing about it.
Fun.
I think people will start with that, but then the tryhards gonna come in and they're gonna play the Mauga, they're gonna play the unfun characters, and then within no time it's just not fun to even try that anymore.
Well, I think everyone who loves 6v6, they've already tuned out of the podcast. I'm sorry, SVB. They're just like, these guys, they don't know what to talk about.
No,
They've
they're
already
sitting
tuned out.
there and typing comments if they're watching the
They're,
video.
they're making timestamp notes. Everything what you said, fucking Ryan Reinforce. They're gonna
This
clip you.
Bogur guy, who invited
Who is
him?
Bogur? Who is this Bogur? The quotation mark.
Who is this guy?
It was a
Why
forum
does he keep
post.
calling me sexual? What is that all about?
Yeah.
I
When
would
it
like you to
comes
know
to-
I am not sexual. I'm straight as they fucking come, bro.
When it comes to talking about goats, like, I genuinely think that some people like really enjoy goats, and like they found it a really fun meta. Even if it was for like a month or two, like that would have been great. They agree that like it lasted for too long, but I genuinely think there were people who enjoy goats. I don't want to tell people what they think is fun or not. Like, if some people enjoy Max 3, if some people enjoy goats, like maybe you enjoy that, yeah. But I think it comes back to what Bogur said earlier about like the consistency problem. Like, the lows were so bad, and I really didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that every time something was meta in 6 versus 6, it felt like people were abusing something. People were abusing double shield. People were abusing sustain from triple tank, triple support. Like, the game was just perpetually broken. Like, it was just silly broken, and people were just making up the most broken compositions. Whereas in Overwatch 2, I feel like the game is way more consistent, and it might be more boring because of that. Like I'm not telling someone that it isn't, more fun than Overwatch 1, but I think that was just a big problem with 6 versus 6. So yeah.
So what we're talking about with this is essentially it's 6v6 open queue, but there's one minimum, right? So like, big picture question: does the one make enough of a difference, right? Like, does having one DPS, let's say, forced onto
Dude, they're
you
gonna
instead
look
of
triple tank May. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very similar to what OpenQ feels like right now. I think you'll be shooting tanks a lot, and there's no real need for DPS like a dive type thing. People can try, but I feel like unless they really change tanks, they're just going to feel very similar.
Okay, let's talk about what might be considered the true 6v6 test, and at least I think that's amongst the 6v6 community. That's a fair statement to make. So the second 6v6 test will be 2-2-2 6v6, but it says here, but with new principles like less CC and hero rework. So they're trying to say it's going to be like the best version of 2-2-2.
What all the 6v6ers have been asking for, basically.
Yes. So in good faith, Bogur, what do you feel about this change? Has this got potential?
Just 6v6 straight up? Is that it?
Yeah.
2v2.
Yeah, 6-6, 2-2-2.
2-2-2.
Less CC. So the Overwatch 2 philosophy of like less CC, hero reworks, but
It's just gonna be 3 tanks, bro.
No,
like,
2-2-2.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's gonna be maybe cool. I don't know. It would be fun to play. I don't know. It's like you can play 3 tanks. You can have 2 DPS, 2 supports. I just think that support and DPS players are not gonna have a fun time. I'll be honest with you. Maybe some DPS players will, but support one. I think Overwatch 1. I think outside of a few supports, I think Overwatch players, support players were usually miserable because the tanks would just bully them, and the DPS would bully them. And then Overwatch 2 came out, and support players are the big dogs now, right? So I think it's going to change, and then support players are going to complain. I think it's a zero-sum game, and as somebody will always be unhappy. But for me, I will play tank, and it will be fun to play with other tank players.
So you feel like, the tank players will be happier overall, but it'll be at the cost of support players.
I think so, too. I think so. I think tank players will be happier because they can play with their tank buddies. They can have some help from tank players. They can have a diva to peel, and Cloudy can pin into the backline, whatever the fuck he does. So it's cool. You can delegate responsibility. But I think support players are gonna be miserable because if you didn't have fun having one Doomfist jump you, imagine having a Doomfist and a diva jump you, or a Doomfist and a Winston or whatever. So what are you gonna do? And you're gonna hope your tank POs you, but your tank won't PO you. So.
But that is a very nuanced and valuable opinion. But one I really want to hear from right now is Reinforced Doubt. What does he or she think about the 2-2-2 test?
They just had lunch. So they're just gonna take a bit of a nap now. Yeah. I do apologize if the mailman comes. She's gonna go crazy and start barking. So hoping that's not the case.
Maybe you should do like a whole, like you were there in the Zoe era of deciding the hero bands. Maybe your dog wants to decide the format.
Time. Yeah.
Hero pools.
That could be a thing. Hero pools, indeed. This is Ciri, by the way, based from Cirilla from The Witcher.
Oh,
so,
awesome. That's cool.
Big Witcher fan. For my takes, not serious takes, my takes on 6 versus 6, I think the hero reworks that they mentioned are going to be interesting. And I'm excited to see like what direction they go with that. I think the best kind of like direction they could go, which I haven't tried it, hypothetically speaking, I think it is when the off tank is like a tankier DPS. Like not when the off tank provides more mitigation and more sustain. And inevitably, some tanks will be more mitigation oriented, like a defense matrix, for example. But I think the best 2-2-2 metas are like Zarya, which is like a tankier damage character almost, right? Or what if Junker Queen is an off-tank hero, right? Like more damage in a way, obviously needs a bit of a rework. I think the worst thing that can happen is that like old Sigma, like, oh, we're gonna give you another shield and another mitigation ability with the grasp. Like that is I think when 2-2 is at its worst. And I hope they balance accordingly so that like if we do get 2-2, it's not hey, here's an extra tank to provide more mitigation and sustain. Hey, here's an extra tank to help the main tank, maybe in the front line or stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what the reworks are, because it's so vague. I don't feel safe making like passing judgment or making an assessment of how it's gonna function. We'll have to see what the hero reworks are, but it could go pretty well depending on the hero reworks.
Yeah, I mean, with all these tests, the big asterisk is how are they going to balance it? Like, obviously, like all of these could be disastrous or could be glorious depending on how they execute it. And I think to that end, they've kind of taken on a momentous task where they're just like, they're trying to create 4 different formats in a short space of time and apparently balance all of them. I think that's like honestly a mistake. I think that's like too much too fast. There's just no way they're spending enough time thinking about each of those changes and testing those internally and like tweaking that. I think the first 2 are going to be flimsy as fuck.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And I think that maybe this will be the one they spend the most time on. So to that end, Kran, like, what do you think is like the best case scenario for this 6v6 222 test?
I think as you said, the last one is definitely going to be the one that actually matters, the one that they need to try to get right as much as possible. But I think Bogur made a good point of saying it's going to be fun for tank players, but I don't see how it's going to be fun for other players, especially if they don't, deny that extra mitigation a second tank brings. It's going to be really difficult to like properly balance, especially when you're doing so many at the same time, so many game modes.
So to achieve like a balanced version of 222, if you believe that it could be such a thing, what do you think the things that they need to address? Is it all the things that the 5v5 haters have been complaining about?
I think the best way to make 6v6 balanced is to kind of see that second tank option, as Reinforce said, as a someone who helps the main tank a little bit, but not be able to take too many plays for themselves to go be in the backline against an Ana and eat all the nades, eat all the sleeps, eat everything. That is the main thing that I think was bad about the initial 6v6. Just that D.Va being permanently there, denying everything, which just felt very oppressive. So taking that oppressiveness of the 2 tanks off the field, which I think was a big reason they even went to 5v5, is that it felt oppressive to play against 2 tanks. I think that's the main issue they need to fix.
Mm-hmm. This is an opportunity to make tanks more honest again. And I think they really need to lean into that. We can't have dishonest tank heroes in 6 versus 6, because that's just going to ruin it, I think. Whatever dishonest and honest means, but
dishonest reset players need to go today.
Right.
I'm sorry. Dude, I need my win rate. What can I say? I'm trying to climb over here. I'm sorry.
I just played the meta. That's all. Don't blame me. Don't play the game.
It's time to break free and do what you want and just use silly mode. Go Junkrat. Go Reinhardt, no shield.
How's that going for Cloudy, huh? 900 games.
I think Masters 4.
Yeah, 900 games in. More than.
My God.
Nice. This is another Life Fever moment all over again. I mean, so let's say they get it right? Let's say they balance the heroes properly. It's really fun, and people come to the conclusion this is better than 5v5. 2 questions. 1, how long do they let this run? Like, what is the actual format of this test? And let's answer that first. And then I want to ask about what do they do afterwards if it's successful. So how long do you think they need to do this? Like, what does the test need to look like? 1 week in the arcade, quick play hack? Like, what's going to be good enough?
No matter what they do, it will never be good enough to satisfy the 6v6 sexuals. I'm going to be honest with you.
I think I feel like they need to have the game mode in for at the very least 2 weeks, if not possibly a month, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you need to allow people to kind of experiment with it. If you do it for only a week, you're not going to have a good picture of what the actual game mode is going to feel like. People are going to start off by playing their funny heroes, whatever they really feel like, or whatever they think is good or think should be good. But then people need to like develop, like actually, try this hero against this comp.
I think if they're really based, they're gonna make one of those tournaments they used to make for like
the Flash Ops stuff.
That would be fucking cool. Imagine like they release the 222 or the like King of the like whatever the guy that's
Kingmaker.
Giga buffed Kingmaker, whatever, or some other mode. Maybe not the first one that we mentioned, that was boring as fuck. But like for some of the modes, if they make a funny tournament, that'll first they're gonna get good tests. Second of all, people will actually try to make a good meta or some comp that works a lot because they want to win the tournament, and it's gonna be good content. You know, I don't know if they're based, but they're not based.
I mean, I actually really like that idea. Yeah, it gives people a reason to do their best and
Yeah.
not play just what they want to play, and then
Yeah.
you have a bit clearer picture of what the game would actually feels like when you're in a competitive
I
environment.
miss the Flash Ops tournaments. They need to do them more often. That was fucking fun.
I agree. That would be cool.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think.
yeah, Reinforce.
Sorry, I think
go
best case scenario, so this is starting at like mid-season 14, and I think you just run it for like the rest of season 14, which will be like what, a month. That'll be a good amount of time, and you get some data from that. Take it offline, reevaluate, put out a developer blog. Best case scenario, it becomes like a new competitive card. Like here's competitive 6v6 next to open queue. But even in spite of that, I think something we haven't talked about so far in the podcast is that like there are some structural issues with 6v6, which is why they went to 5v5 in the first place. Like tank queue times, for example. No one wants to play tank, and that's what they highlighted in the initial blog of like why they moved away from 6v6 in the first place. Still to this day, in 5v5, I have instant queues as a tank player. Like it's always the least queued role in the game, and so adding on another tank player to the team, those queues are going to be even longer. And if people sit in long queues waiting for a game to pop, that's when people start playing other games, and that's when they go offline, you know? So that is just one of the many structural issues I think 6v6 has, and you can't solve that. Like I don't see how you possibly solve that without opening up roles or something like that, and then it quickly spirals out of control. So I think that's an issue that they won't be able to figure out how to get more tank players to queue 6v6. It's a big problem. So, and even if you queue with other tank players, like we already talked about, you get the Roadhog one trick, or you get two Reinhardt mains, or like stuff like that, and it's not fun to be a tank duo if you don't already align with whoever you're playing with. Like, you know, low key, I think they would be better off making like an off tank role if that's the case, or something like that, because like that the lowest low is when you get two main tanks on a team and you're trying to figure out those kind of roles already. And I think a decent amount of players, I think some damage, I disagree, but I think some damage players would be willing to queue off tank. If they queued in for only off tank, I think some damage players would be able to like, all right, if it means I get a quicker game, I would queue up for Zarya or queue up for, you know, whatever off tank, like once in a while. And I think that'd be pretty fair. Do you want 4 roles in the game? Do you want main support, flank support? No, but like, I think that would help maybe.
Who are gonna be the off tanks? Diva.
They'd have to figure that out. They'd have to.
They figure it out. You do it.
But like they'd have to figure that out. But I think.
Hear me out. Ryan, the only main tank. The rest all off tanks.
Yes.
Problem solved.
Winston,
Nice.
Ryan
Every game of Ryan.
Nice.
Winston,
Every
Ryan.
game of Ryan.
Ryan Winston, my goat.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that the 2 tank players is like a problem for like queue times and stuff, and I don't think you can balance that. Like you don't fix that. So that's just reality. There's not enough tank players.
I mean, the 6v6.
But maybe there's gonna be
like,
more tank players now. Like
right,
maybe that's the counter argument.
Yeah, that basically you make the role more appealing.
Where do they come from? TikTok?
Bro, oh my god, the TikTok comments and other comments just mentioning 6v6 are crazy. They're like, it's wild.
I don't think TikTok comes for a reason.
You should. It's really funny.
Scum of the earth, to be honest. But I think the 6v6 people would say like, you know, you make the tank role more appealing. Like it's already unappealing. People are already not playing too much tank. So at least make the tank role more appealing. They, you know, let's say we don't double the tank population, but we still increase it, and maybe queue times go slightly up. But the trade-off is that the game is better, and the game overall is more fun. That'd probably be something along the lines of the 6v6 argument.
People are gonna come back, play the game for 2 weeks. They're gonna be like, "Oh, 6v6 is back," and then leave again. I just know it's gonna happen. I'm just gonna stick around for more than a month, and then we're gonna have shitty queue times.
Okay, so let's say again, let's play out the best hypothetical, right? Let's say the queue
Oh
times
my,
aren't an
yeah,
issue.
sure.
The queue times aren't an issue. The balance is great. Everybody loves 6v6. What do we
Monkey
do?
paw. What is the trade-off? Everything's perfect.
Well, let's just say by and large, it's people
Listen,
prefer it, right?
But balance is perfect. They release the free character. 6v6 is out. All skins are
removed the
free. They bring
two.
back loot
Remove the
boxes.
Loot boxes, yes.
Remove the 2 loot boxes are back. This would be great.
In fact, they make me pay $40 to start playing Overwatch again just to
Yeah.
read the game.
Yeah.
XQC comes back. XQC comes back. It's all gonna be awesome, guys.
Oh my god. Yeah, but
But realistically, let's say that it goes well. I'm not saying it goes perfect. Let's say it goes well. What do we do? Do we think about putting 6v6 in properly? Do we do another test? What do we do?
Listen, if it pops off and everybody wants it, then fuck it, put it in. I'll be honest. For like it is, if majority of people want to have it and they think it went well, and
Well, this is
I
what I
think
mean,
there
'cause
definitely needs to be another test before like implementing it. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, if it's really, really popular, then that's why not, right?
yeah, exactly. If it's really good and everybody's playing it and their statistics show that it's awesome and people love it, then fuck it. Like maybe that is the choice. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm a stupid guy. Whatever it is, if they bring back 6v6 or stay with 5v5, I'm gonna roll with it. I do not care that much. I just think it's not gonna solve everything. But yeah.
I agree. I'm the same way. I'm just saying it now. If they swap to 6 versus 6, count me in. I'm selling out. I'm full sellout. Whatever brings more players. Whatever brings more players to the game and more viewers on Twitch, I'm selling out. I don't care what if it's 4v4, 5v5, 6v6. So like,
there's no reason to fight the flow.
Make Overwatch great.
Fuck yeah. I'm putting on the hat as well. 6v6 sexual. This thing like make Overwatch.
You gotta start selling 6v sexual merch. If it pops off, I'm in. I'm getting one.
I'm a 6 sexual.
I'm part of Phreaks and I'm a 6v6.
6v6 freak. Awesome.
That's why they're releasing the new tanker. That's why they're calling him that, because he's gonna come out and he's gonna be like, he's gonna campaign in the game to go back to 6v6. He's gonna be like, don't you guys wish when we had
he's gonna be the voice. The voice of the people.
I'll be like, I always supported 6v6 guys. Let's go.
Okay, and now let's talk about the other end. Let's say it goes badly. Let's say the 2-2-2 tests and the other 6v6 tests don't go
Oh my god,
well.
there's gonna be a civil war. It's gonna be a civil war, bro. We're gonna have protesting. People are gonna raid Blizzard HQ. It's gonna be crazy.
I think a lot of the people that are advocating for 6v6 are not gonna change their mind regardless of what's gonna happen. They're gonna make excuses for why it failed more than they were like, I was wrong. That's what I think will happen.
I think they'll say that they didn't put enough effort, didn't give us enough time. It's not the same. They're trying to sabotage us. There's plenty of excuses.
Well, the argument would be that you guys, let's say, theoretically, you guys are all 5v5 shills,
idea.
so you're doing the same thing. You're too afraid to accept that there's a mistake.
Let's reenact the elections. Let's have
Let's
go
not.
through the test. No, listen. We do the listen. The 6v6 test goes through, and then they give everyone the chance to vote, and the majority vote. That's what happens with Overwatch. So if 6v6 gets majority, that we get 6v6. If 5v5 is majority, we keep 5v5, and then we have representatives for 6v6 and 5v5, and we're gonna go scream on TikTok to vote for 6v6 or 5. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be awesome.
That's what they do in classic RuneScape, right? They have
Do they?
in-game votes. Yeah, they have in-game votes for what
That'd be
direction and what
that'd be
features.
so-
I mean, low-key, it would be really funny, but
be
it go
funny.
horribly wrong.
And then
so
you can have
funny.
you can have like, oh, they're doing election interference because he's got 5 alt accounts. He's voting 5 times.
exactly.
Yes.
Stop the count.
And then Samito is gonna lead this 6v6 charge, and then the 5v5 charge is led by me, for example, and we're gonna all like do campaigns and stuff.
And then they're gonna be like,
can make
they
content,
bought out Overwatch calories, so they're manipulating the mainstream media. They're manipulating the news Overwatch Gallery is a
Make
fucking
Overwatch great again,
propaganda.
guys. And make it great again.
Make it great. You
The
can
Reddit mods. They're removing our posts.
They're censoring us.
Oh man.
So
No.
realistically, again, Reinforce. Let's say it goes down. Let's say
Yeah.
let's say it's done quote unquote fairly, whatever that is, but it doesn't catch on. Where do we go from? Like, where do the 6v6 people go from there? Do they say like, because there's gonna be some people who are gonna be like, no, I still think they didn't do it right, and I still want it. Like, are they gonna get another chance? Is that gonna be it? What do you think is gonna happen?
I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry if they did 6 versus 6 tests and it didn't work out. Like, I'm sorry. Like, either get with the times or be stuck yelling at clouds, you know. And even, you know, I'm happy they're doing it because it's going to bring in more players to the game. And maybe it's a small fraction, but maybe 5% of players will start queuing ranked again in 5 versus 5. Maybe they'll stick onto the game. It'll be a fun experiment, and it was fun while it lasted. So there's no bad outcome from this. I think it's, regardless whether it goes bad or goes really well, like I think it'll be good regardless. So, if it sucks, sorry, but maybe we'll make it a once a year thing. But if it's really good, let's bring it back more often.
I disagree with the sentiment that it's good regardless, because if it goes badly, we'll never hear the end of it from the 6v6 sexuals, and it's going to be a hell on earth everywhere.
Maybe you want them to still have hope. Maybe you'll be like, oh, sorry, we didn't do it right. We'll keep iterating.
Next
Come
year,
back
next
in 6
year.
months.
Yeah, next
we'll
year.
try it again. Like, maybe you just need them to keeping invested.
I'll be honest.
have
When they
faith.
said they're going to try it out, the entire discussion died out. Instantly when they mentioned they're going to try it out, everybody stopped yapping about it. So maybe.
So what you're saying is lead them on, like a person you don't want to date, but you just want to let them on the hook. It's like, yeah, I kind of like you, maybe we
They're
could
too
be together.
aggressive if you give them the final answer.
You don't actually go on a date with them. You just say like, I'm busy this week, but maybe
next time.
Next time.
Maybe. Okay. Final question on the 6v6 222 front, or just the general 6v6 front. I gotta go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna let you guys respond while I'm there. But is there a danger of splitting the player base, even with these tests? Like, are we actually gonna potentially make Q times bad in 5v5 and then 6v6 is kind of half and half? So, Bogur, I'll take it to you, and then I'm going to the bathroom.
I think maybe there is a potential that is going to split the player base. Like, if they imagine 6v6 and that is going to fuck up the queue times, and then split player base because not everyone's going to be playing in this because it's not going to be the main mode. We might be looking at fucking crazy queue times, I'll be honest.
I feel like,
Yeah, go on.
We haven't really seen any game mode. Like, every time even with the new game mode that had a lot of success, like the Junkenstein one, I feel like my queue times are the same. So I feel like it need to be incredibly successful in order for that to actually change. At least from what I've seen so far. Maybe on the first couple of days it'd be bad.
So I feel like kind of the question you have to ask is like, what role do you think will queue 6v6 the most and cause like an imbalance? Because if it's all split, like 33% tank supports damage, like it won't change the queue times at all. But if it's say like there's more tanks going to queue 6 versus 6, that's going to be even longer 5 versus 5 queue times for damage and support. I don't know if I make sense, but that would be a way you could like mess with the queue times. That like if more tank players than damage and support go queue 6 versus 6, you just all the 5 versus 5 people are like, where do our tanks go? Like all our tanks want to play 6 versus 6. So I don't know. But
which is likely to happen especially if we kind of go with the view that tank will be the biggest beneficiary of the 6v6 while others suffer. There's a likelihood that more tank players will go to 6v6, and let's say support again, if we follow that logic, people may not agree with it. They may be like, actually everyone will love 6v6 more. But let's say tanks will like it more than supports. Well, tank people will go, they'll play, and they'll enjoy. Let's say even if a support player goes, they're going to immediately be like, oh, I actually prefer 5v5, and then come back. So there would be, I don't think it's like a problem for them to stop doing it, but it could be a problem for those first, especially couple days, maybe the week. People are going to have longer queue times probably.
For sure. I mean, they should still go through with it, but it's something they need to monitor at least.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts on these tests before we move on? And
No, that's enough. I can talk about 6 versus 6 in one day.
well, you
I'm
you
tired.
said you said you had like a whole thing to drop. Did you get everything out that you wanted to get?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've said enough.
Okay.
We'll see how it
any other
goes.
thoughts?
I'm excited.
Fuck it, I fuck with it.
See what happens. Okay. To that end, then let's head to the concluding section. We've had a good round discussion on everything coming this season. I think this is probably the most dominant thing that people are going to be talking about, like the test coming up. But as we always do, I'll ask you guys what you're looking forward to for the rest of this season, and that can be anything. It could be that you're looking forward to the the 5v5 section of these tests. Could be that you're looking forward to hearing more about the new hero. Could be that you're like, I want to play this balance patch, see how it goes. Maybe some skins that you're really interested in. So what are you looking forward to more for this season, and then maybe next season as well, like a little nod to next season. I want to see this. So let's go with Reinforce first. What are you looking forward to?
Do we know if there's going to be anything in the mid-season? Season 13?
I don't know.
No?
Don't think that, they've not really announced anything. At least there's always
Yeah.
going to be a patch, mid-season patch, but I don't think.
I guess
any
I'm looking forward to
spec-
these tests. Yeah. When does the 5 versus 5 test start?
They
Season
didn't-
14?
the 5v5 test start later this year. The quick play hacked, I think this
It's
season.
season 13.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I
quick
guess
play hack
the
this
test
season.
start this season. All right. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to balance changes to Juno, Brig, Diva, Widowmaker. I pray that I wake up one day and Winston becomes meta again. I
Bro,
really
he's
miss
always
playing
meta.
Winston.
He's always meta.
Yeah, people are actually saying that Winston is really good, but I feel like anytime I pick Winston, I'm just it's more frustrating than it needs to be. But maybe it's because I'm a dog shit player. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Bogur. Maybe I'm just not enough of a good one of Winston. Maybe I tell myself that at night. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the game. So I have no big overarching kind of like requests or demands. I like the direction the developer team is going, and I'm excited for the future.
Nice. Okay, Bogur, how about you?
I'm excited for the Phreak. I'm excited for the tests. That's gonna be cool. I'm excited for more wacky Junkenstein modes, maybe. And I'm just excited to farm drops at the beginning of next season, guys. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a chill life, you know. Once you let go of trying to be rank 1, let go of trying to be top 10, be competitive, and just
and just
enjoy
play
the game.
Junkrat in
Just play.
Masters.
Fuck yeah, bro. That is the life. The stress is gone. You don't care anymore. You're just running it down. Every fight, every game, people flame you, but there is no anger within you. There's nothing. It's free. You know?
There's absolutely.
There's nothing. You're just sitting there, and sometimes you pop up, sometimes you don't, but you don't care. I wish that
You're a
upon
Zen
everyone.
master. This is crazy.
Let go of
Are
your
you starting
sanity.
a Phreaks
That's the
cult?
important part.
He's a changed man since the Live Viewer incident. It changed him. It changed him forever.
Yeah, it did. I understand. I saw it. I saw the beauty of life.
He just went into the black hole. Like he just came out the other side. He just like broke something inside of him.
Yeah.
There was like
think so.
like there's a Bogur behind that bookshelf behind him, just like screaming,
Exactly,
like
just-
stop trying, nah.
Stop. No more.
Don't
All
keep
right.
up again.
So Zen Master Bogur, what about you, Kran? What are you looking forward to for this?
Well,
and
I'm
the next
also
season?
looking forward to the new hero that I will not mention the name of, but mainly to see if it has a mobility. That is by far the thing I'm looking forward to most. As someone who's more into competitive, the competitive side of things, the less silly stuff. I just really would like to play a hero that is good, but also can move around the map a little bit. That is what I like the most.
That's fair. Very reasonable, humble request from all you guys. No like grand, overarching like I want to see the whole game shaken up. Yeah, I think as well. I'm most interested in the Junkenstein's lab and see how that develops, and then obviously the tests. I think those are the big picture things. Like the other stuff, especially for you guys who grind the game, that's important. Like okay, well, how are they gonna change the patch? What's the new tank gonna be like? But I think big picture overall, Overwatch's fate will probably rest more on things like just Junkenstein's lab, and definitely things like what happens with these format tests, like where they go with that could make a big impact on how happy people are with the game and how people are tuning in. So whether they are or not, we'll be here to discuss it and I'm sure all you guys will be streaming farming drops. So go show some love to these guys. Tune into their
The
streams.
drops are over, right?
Drops are over now.
Next time,
drops are over.
Next time,
Nice
the-
drops,
the-
nice drops. Nice
There's
drops.
always more drops to be farmed,
There's
Joe.
always more
There's
drops.
always more drops to be
There's
farmed. If you
more
want to,
drops.
if you want to farm them now, you're welcome as well.
There you go. So go and farm each of these guys' streams. Go get their drops. Go AFK and lurk. And thank you very much to Reinforce, Bogur, and kraandop for joining me today. And yeah, guys, it's been a good one. Anything you want to say before I let you get going?
Check out my YouTube channel. Check out my stuff. Yay! I'm doing content creation stuff. I'm not as big as kraandop and Bogur, but
Stay
check it out.
freaky.
No,
There you go.
don't do the opposite of that. Don't listen to that guy.
There you go. Check all of them out, guys. Go check out Reinforce the channel and show them some love. But for now, that's it from us. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great one.
All
Peace
right,
out.
take care.
thank you. Thank you, Speed.